Audio. Right. Let's get this flight going. Tonight's stream, we are going to be flying from Philadelphia down to Miami Executive. Should be a fun little flight. Good distance on it. We will be cruising at the max altitude of 45,000 feet for the longitude. And about a 2-hour flight is probably what we're looking at. So, one of the longer ones we've done here in a while on the Citation channel. So, let's get ready to hop inside and get this thing fired up and get ready to go. We do have a departure route and we have an arrival route as we come into Miami Executive, so we'll take a look at those as we get things ready. Actually, let me check. I didn't check my settings. Make sure I switched them back from plane spotting. That looks good for right now. Good on the sound. ATC, we're just going to be using the AI ATC for this one. Shooting for probably this Friday night. I'm going to go ahead and make the first VATSIM flight. That's what I'm shooting for. We'll see if that actually happens or not. But yeah, that's what we're going for. So, but for right now, let's get this thing fired up and get in the air. Thought about doing the flight plan for this one through SimBrief, but decided now we'll just do it through the Flight Simulator World Map Planner, which I think, unless you're doing VATSIM, I think it just puts it in, like you have to load it into the World Map Flight Planner anyway. But thought about going ahead and just mapping all this out on SimBrief to get a little practice, but figured we'll be all right. So, all right, got the APU going. We got a light on. Let's go ahead and grab our ATIS. I think we were taking off 27 left, so sounds good there. Let's see what we have here. I think she said Charlie. I didn't catch it though. I just want to make sure and read it as it comes by here. Stop her as soon as I can see it on the... I think it was Charlie. We'll go with that. All right. Got that in. Go ahead and turn on the flight director. Go ahead and put in nav mode, speed over to manual. We will go ahead and put that up to... Well, you know what? We're going to do this the right way. So let's go ahead and open up Navigraph while we got it here. I can pull it up on the center screen down here, but I think it's a little bit harder for you guys to see it. And so just go ahead and use Navigraph. It does just as well. So we're going to open up the Philadelphia, take a look at the charts. We're going to look at the SID. I guess it would actually be a star. Speed to SID. He's going to tell us in our initial departure, but let's look real quick down at the flight plan because I cannot remember what the departure was. This may not have loaded in correctly like I thought it did. Well, PHL2 departure. Let's see, we have no transition, and then it's just direct to MANSEC. So, all right, we won't get too carried away with that. I think that we'll save that for when we get down to the approaches. So that's okay for now. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call for our Ifr clearance just before we start firing everything up. Otherwise, because I think we got everything else dialed in that we need to. So let's go ahead and get Philadelphia ground tuned in, and we have them tuned in. All right. Also going to use the radio stack here to tune the radio for me when I need to start changing that to get ready for VATSIM using that as well. So Philadelphia clearance delivery, Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa, looking to pick up Ifr clearance to Miami Executive with Charlie.
Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa is cleared to Miami-Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 27 left climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure frequency is 133.875 squawk tree 67.
Cleared to Miami Executive is filed. Takeoff runway 27 left, climb and maintain 6,000. Departure 33875, squawk 3367, 6 Bravo Papa.
Cessna 6 Bravo Papa readback is correct. Contact ground on 130.575 when ready to taxi. Good day.
Hit the acknowledge button, it automatically fills in your squawk code and everything. So I never really get a chance to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and dial in departure. We'll go ahead and get ground in 130.575. You can see it moving on there. I'm doing that with the Logitech radio panel here I have sitting on the desk. So there's ground, and then I'm going to go ahead and get departure, which is going to be 33875. Tuned. Okay. And then we will switch over to that once we get up there ready to take off. So, all right. Got that. We will request taxi as soon as we get fired up here. We're not going to use the tug or anything like that. I am going to go ahead and go back to Navigraph, pull up just the regular airport chart here. That way we can get taxi, Philadelphia International, big airport, so I'll be curious to see what kind of taxi instructions we get. Looks like 27 left, so that's going to be just off to the right of where we're sitting now. So it looks like we will probably take, it looks like we'll probably have to take uniform and then actually cross 27 left and then taxi down Sierra to Sierra 1 is my guess. So we will find out. Also, I'm going to go ahead and get the airport codes into the flight overlay so it updates there at the top for you guys. KPHL, and I think it was KOPF. Miami Executive. Yep, there we go. All right, that's updated up at the top now. So let's go ahead and get these engines fired up. Fuel valves. And start our right engine, the ignition, and then hit the starter, and then we're going to keep an eye on it. This N2 should get up somewhere around 20, and then once it hits 20, we should see the N1 then start to come up as it starts introducing fuel in. There's 20, and the N1 is starting to tick up, so we are good there. On that engine, I'm going to go ahead and close the little cover around there. Go ahead and start with the left engine, close the cover on it, a couple seconds, and then hit the starter as well. And it will do the same here. Once this N1 gets about to 15 or so is when I go ahead and flip on the generator. So that one on the right is there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the right generator. I'm going to watch the left engine here for the N2 hit 20. Now the N1 should start coming up. And it is. Let it get just a bit higher. Before we hit that generator. Fuel flow, oil pressure, and oil temp all looks good on them. All right, there's 15, so the left generator now will come on as well. I'm going to open up that bus tie, and then at this point now we can go ahead and shut down the APU generator and then come down here and shut off the APU as well. Go ahead and arm the ground spoilers. And at this point, we are looking good. Let's come up here, get some lights on. We're going to be flying, go ahead and turn on, arm the emergency lights. We're going to be flying live weather. I did back the time up just a little bit so we're not going to be in the dark the entire way. That doesn't make it very much fun looking out the windows and stuff. So go ahead and get pitot and ice on. Go ahead and arm the ELT. And at that point, we are now officially up and going and ready to taxi. So I'm going to go ahead. We are already on the ground frequency. We're going to go ahead and request that taxi. Philadelphia ground, Cessna November 316, Bravo Papa is ready to taxi.
Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa taxi to and hold short of runway 27 left via taxiway Yankee cross runway 9 right Zulu cross runway 27 left uniform Sierra Sierra Tree. Contact tower on 135.1 when ready.
Taxi and hold short of runway 27 left via taxiway Yankee, cross runway 9 right, Zulu, cross runway 27 left, uniform Sierra Sierra 3, tower 351, 6 Bravo Papa. All right, so that's wrong. They never give you great, well, it's almost always wrong with the taxi instructions when you use the AI ATC. So here they want us to taxi and hold short of runway 27 left using Yankee. So I mean that is right. We come out of here, we could go to Yankee. And then we would cross runway 9 right. Well, actually, okay. So now we're on this side of the runway, so they consider that 9 right. And then take Zulu. And that's where it is us. Because Zulu is now down here, the opposite way that we want to go. Then it wants you to take Zulu and cross 27 left, which makes no sense. And then uniform Sierra Sierra 3. So in the end, they want us getting to Sierra 3, which is right there. So we don't need to go all the way down to Sierra 1. So Sierra 3 is where we need to go. So what we're going to do, we're going to take uniform, cross 27 left, get on Sierra, and then take Sierra to Sierra 3. That's the route we're going to take. And that will be just fine. Okay. That said, taxi lights are on. We are good to go. And let's roll out of here. Go ahead and give us a view from outside so it's a little more interesting to watch. We'll go ahead, we'll just make a hard left turn here. So parking brake is off. Start rolling out. And none of those are there. Sliced right through that tug operator. Okay. So we'll come up here to uniform. We do have permission in the clearance to go ahead and just cross 27 left here, but being the good pilots that we are, we will at least give it a look when we roll up here. It's a little dark and cloudy here, so already got a lot of the runway lights on. All right, right looks good, left looks good. It is obviously going to be clear because I do not have any traffic on at this point. I've shut off all AI traffic in anticipation of flying on VATSIM. So, all right, here we are at uniform. So we're going to go ahead and take a right. Or I'm sorry, Sierra. Just came off a uniform. Take a right on Sierra. Now we're going to take Sierra down to Sierra 3. Drive straight. A little bit of a different view here. I'll learn to work the rudder pedals the opposite way. Go. Track of where we are using the Navigraph map. All right. 2 Sierra 3. I can't tell how fast I'm going, but the brakes a little bit so the spoilers don't arm. Okay, that was Sierra 5. Sierra 4 is coming up, and then we will turn off on Sierra 3. Not needing the entire runway for this one, obviously. Sierra 4 and Sierra 3 is coming up, so I'm going to hop back in, just so we don't roll right past it. Pull up my little VFR map over on the side, kind of helps give me an idea of where we are. All right. So we are here now and holding short. Actually, I think I rolled past the hold short line, but this is fine. I am going to zoom in our map down here just a bit. I use that VFR map, but I do like to just glance over here and see kind of when we take off. So you can see we're going to depart straight out, clear the runway, and then once we hit that waypoint, which is, well, it doesn't show up on the VFR map, but once we hit that waypoint, we will then make a left and be on our way, and then be climbing to 6,000 all the while we're doing that. So got our auto throttle. What did I have it at? 185? Yeah, so it'll keep us at 185. That'll work for right now while we're taking off. So, all right, well, we are here, so I'm going to go ahead and tune over to tower. Which was 351. All right. Oops. 135.1. There we go. Philadelphia Tower, Cessna November 316, Bravo Papa, holding short of runway 27 left, ready for takeoff.
Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa, altimeter 29.905, wind 032 at 4. Cleared for takeoff, runway 27 left.
Cleared for takeoff, 27 left, 6 Bravo Papa. All right, we've got our takeoff clearance. We've got departure already dialed in to the radio so that when we take off, we can easily switch over to them. Go ahead and put in 1 notch of flaps. See, and catch the last couple seconds of them coming in right there. And we are ready to go. Spoilers are up. All lights are on. We're ready to rock and roll. So I'll bring it out here onto the runway. We'll just keep on rolling and head right into the takeoff. I'll give it to the auto throttle once I get it up. Once I get the throttle handles all the way up to take off. Auto throttle will get us up to 185 and keep us right there. So we can then focus on flying the plane. So here we go. All right. Throttle is all the way up. There's auto throttle. And get us back toward the middle a little bit here. I rotated about 110 and we are already there. So there's rotation. I'll pull a little bit to the right for some reason. All right, we'll hop outside. Oh, that's a nice shot. Gear going up. 33875, 6 Bravo Papa. Good day. Philadelphia departure, Cessna November 316, Bravo Papa is climbing through 1300 to 6000. We're just keeping about 7-8 degrees of pitch right now, climbing up through 2000 at this point. Auto throttle has us at that 185. We're going to get into a little bit of clouds here. I don't know if there's any moisture in this or not, but we're just going to keep on this same heading until we get that waypoint that you can see there. D last, I guess is what it says. But we'll go hand fly it to that point and then make that turn and then give it to the autopilot after that. It's fun to actually do some flying now and then and not just always hand it off to the autopilot. So climbing through 3000 now at this point. We are cleared to 6, so cleared to 18,000. That was quick. Climb and maintain 18,000, 6 Bravo Papa. So at least we know we are cleared through 18,000. So broke through those clouds pretty quickly. I was thinking about going ahead and giving it to the autopilot just because of the lack of visibility there, but let's go ahead and start making our left turn here. Holding strong at about 4,300. Try and hold that altitude in this turn. Yeah, we're in the... we're breaking through here. Okay. We can keep it just a little bit longer on that turn. That's all right. Climbing at about 2,700 feet at this point, but slow it down just a little bit. I want to go ahead and pull our speed up. Flaps are up. I'm going to go ahead and increase that speed to 225 knots. Go ahead and get up there, and then we may go ahead to 250. Yeah, because we're already 225. So I'm going to go ahead and run it to 250, and then we will climb up to our 18,000 at 250 knots. And then at that point, we will go ahead and increase it to about, depending on the next, we should be cruising at 45,000 feet today. So we can climb once we get up to, I think, the 18,000 foot threshold. Climb at 270, 290 if you want to. So we'll kind of get a feel for it. 32525, 6 Bravo Papa. Good day. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give this to the autopilot so it keeps us on course. We'll contact Washington Center here in a second. I'm going to go ahead before she starts dropping us out of the sky and let it know that we are still wanting to climb. There we go. So we'll go ahead and set it at 2,000 feet. All right, let's go ahead and dial in Washington Center on 32525. Washington Center, Cessna November 316, Bravo Papa is climbing through 9,000 on our way up to 18,000. Good there. Climbing at 2,000. We've just crossed 10, so we will go ahead and come up and clean up our lighting situation up there. All right, it looks like we'll be on top of any other clouds we're going to be flying in today, so I won't worry about any other ones at this point. 2545, 6 Bravo Papa. Good day. Washington Center, Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa, climbing through 11,000 up to 18,000.
Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa, Washington Center altimeter 29.905. Continue to EDDYS as planned.
Hop outside and see what we're looking at. Boy, there are some clouds out there, isn't there? Got a gigantic cotton ball blanket right below us. We'll be above that the entire way as we work our way up to 45,000 feet. That is the max cruising altitude for this aircraft in real life and then also in the game. You literally can't move the altitude dial any higher than 45,000. So if you do fly this aircraft, you go ahead and pick a flight plan that's a high altitude airway flight plan in the world map flight planner, go ahead and click on the nav log and just make sure that it doesn't have your cruising altitude any higher than 45,000. It actually had mine at 46,000 for this, and so obviously it won't let you go any higher than that, and so what'll happen is you'll have the air traffic control telling you to climb to 46,000. Your instruments will not let you go any higher than that, and then it'll start yelling at you why you're not at your cruising altitude. And you can always, request. I did it one time where it was, I think it was like 47,000 is what it had me at on the flight plan. And so once they told me to climb to 47,000, I just went ahead and requested a cruising altitude decrease, which is just here in the ATC window. You can just request that they decrease your cruising altitude. So I just did that by 2,000. So basically then they cleared me to 45,000. I didn't have to worry about it yelling at me the rest of the flight. So, but you can also just head it off and in that nav log, go ahead and change it before you ever start the flight. And that'll keep them from requesting you to go any higher than whatever it is in that setting. So yeah, we are on our way to Miami Executive. Flying basically all the way down the East Coast. I don't know if these are Hurricane Ian remnants up here or not. Looked like on the world map when I was setting up this flight, it kind of had a swirly, big long band of clouds up there. So I don't know if that was something different or if that was the remnants of that hurricane just kind of moving its way past the northeast. But pretty crazy if so. Yeah, got a nice break off over there. The sun over there maybe burning those off, but off this direction it is pure cloudiness. That sun was reflecting off the wing. There we go. That's kind of cool. All right, we're off. Climb and maintain 300, 6 Bravo Papa. Put that in. Climb it at 2,000 feet. We're going to go ahead and set the barometer to standard now that we're past 18,000. We're still at 250. I'm going to go ahead and just slowly bring that up to 270, and we'll just finish this climb up to 270 and then get into cruising speed from there. Not really a reason for us to try and climb at 290. It's not necessary. We're not trying to break any speed limits or anything or speed records at this point. Just a nice private jet flight down to Miami Executive. We won't even pretend like we're hauling anybody this time. This time it'll just be us and our jet. I don't know, us and our private jet. Does look like we have a nice little tailwind up here. Yeah, 23 knot tailwind right now, so hopefully that keeps up the entire way. That'd be awesome. 3205, 6 Bravo Papa. Good day. Washington Center, Cessna November 316, Bravo Papa is climbing through 20,000 to flight level 300.
Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa Washington Center. Continue to EDDYS as planned.
Graph charts for right now, we're good there. And we're just going to be climbing up, so let's go back outside. Nice to see the computer performing well again. Last night's plane spotting there down in Atlanta, it was getting a little rough. I mean, we were having a hard time keeping 22, 24 frames per second down there, which not entirely surprising for Atlanta. It usually does that, but last night it was especially choppy for some reason. It was the first time I tried using FSLTL model matching in VATSIM, and so I don't know if maybe that was having a little bit of a frame hit on it, but our next plane spotting we'll try and hit somewhere not as intensive as Atlanta is. I mean, I know there's other big airports, but even like JFK and LAX and some of those, I can, when we're doing plane spotting, easily get above 40 and into the 50 frames per second while we're plane spotting there. So it's just something about Atlanta and the way they modeled it that makes it especially difficult. I think it's that whole complex there in the middle, especially where they, modeled that out. It looks awesome. It's extremely realistic, but I think that's what has put some of the biggest hit on the GPU resources, unfortunately. Obviously, as you climb, your air density, the heaviness of the air, whatever the scientific pilot way to say it, obviously it gets lighter as you go up, and so as you're climbing up higher and higher, you're able to go a little bit faster. Obviously, that's not as much air resistance on the aircraft, and so you can see that as we're climbing up through 25,000, we're still at our 270 knots, and we were pretty well maxed out in terms of throttle, but as we've continued to climb up, they've started to slow back down a little bit. So this is where you could, if you wanted to, either increase your rate of climb of 500 feet a minute, get up there a little bit quicker, or you could try and increase the speed a little bit. But like I said, this is nice, giving the engines a little bit of a break there, and we've already got a little bit of a quartering tailwind anyway, so we'll go ahead and get up to 30,000. At that point, I may go ahead and switch us over and get us up to 290 before we start the next vector climb, because we do eventually need to get up to 45,000. So, or maybe, I may bump it up to 280, make that next climb, because I doubt they'll send us all the way up to 45,000 on the next vector. Probably be something maybe around 38,000 or something, but if they do go ahead and send us all the way up to 45, I'll speed it up to 285, 290. Why not? We'll climb that last 15,000 like a rocket ship. So I'm just going to stay in the cabin here because we should get that vector here in about the next minute or so. Well, just checking all the controls here, making sure everything's good. Flaps up, our gears up. Got our ice and our pitot heat on. Spoilers are disengaged. Got the right lights on that we need. Everything looks good. Let's listen for the next vector here. I'm going to contact somebody else and they'll give it to us. 3255, 6 Bravo Papa. Good day. Washington Center, Cessna November 316, Bravo Papa is at flight level 300.
Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa Washington Center. Continue to EDDYS as planned. Cessna 6 Bravo Papa
Here we go.
maintain flight level 380.
Alright, so they're going to go ahead and take us to 380. So, since we've already leveled out, they were a little late on giving us that climb. I am going to go ahead and speed us up. Let's go straight to 290. So, I'm going to tick the auto throttle up. Come down there. You can see it going up there on the left. Got it set at 290. I forgot to confirm that. Climb and maintain 380, 6 Bravo Papa. Let that work its way up close to about 290. So it's just kind of ticking its way up a little bit further. The engines aren't at full throttle, so it's just trying to get up there and not exceed it. So I'm going to call that good. So now we're going to go ahead and start our vertical speed climb now to 38,000, and we will just climb that at about 2,000 feet per minute. At this point as well, I'm going to go ahead and switch the speed over to Mach. So I'm going to click on the speed controller up here on the panel, click on it and hold with the left mouse, and then click with the right while holding. And if you look now at the speed, we're now in Mach. And so I've got it set at Mach 0.78. So we don't want to exceed that while we're climbing, but then once we get to our flight level of 450, then we will bring that up to about 0.82 Mach is about the maximum cruising speed for the longitude. So we'll bump it up close to that when it comes time. Meanwhile, we don't need to sit and look at that. Let's go back outside. Oh, those clouds have filled in now. And everybody in the cabin has got their sunglasses. I forgot it's just us. Or just me. We're not hauling any passengers. Except for you guys. Let's keep flying. Step away and grab a drink real quick, but I want to go ahead and get up to the, or at least get the vector to 450 before I do that. So I don't want the ATC to start asking me if I copied and then eventually cancel your flight following if you don't, or cancel your IFR flight plan if you don't respond that you acknowledged them. So I'll hang around for a few more minutes to do that. I'll run and grab a drink. Forgot to bring one up with me when I started. Ah, went out of focus. That's odd. Not sure why it's doing that. There we go. Okay. That was weird. Alright, looks like we are coming up on 38,000, so let's hop back inside. And wait for the final vector to 45. I'm actually, no, I'm not going to, because it'll want to continue to climb if I do that. Try and jump ahead of it there, but that's how you get in trouble.
Cessna 6 Bravo Papa climb and maintain flight level 450.
Climb and maintain 450, 6 Bravo Papa. I was on a stream the other day. I think it was Kip on the Ground stream, and he was flying a CRJ, and he actually had in his chat a real life CRJ pilot. And one of the things he was mentioning was they like it when the ATC will give you your next vector up, or I think that's what he was saying, or maybe there was some method that they have where as long as the controller gets it to them early enough, they can just continue the descent angle that they're on right into the next one, rather than just being climb, level out, climb, level out, climb, level out, just the entire way. And so I think he said they enjoy it when they've got controllers, that'll give them that next vector while they're still maybe within 1,000 feet or so, and it hasn't started completely leveling off yet. And it made me think about the AI ATC here, because it does that exact thing. It lets you get within. It doesn't come in right when you've hit it. It usually comes in about a couple hundred feet before then, but usually if you're using like vertical speed or something like that, it's already starting to level you out. And so essentially, when you have these flights like this where you're going up to a 45,000 and they're vectoring you up at about 8,000 feet each time, it does feel like you just kind of are doing almost a stair step the entire way. So part of me always wants to try and dial it in a little before they transmit it, just so we can kind of just keep our steady angle of climb. But I'm sure hearing from him on that stream that there are some controllers, that won't get them the next clearance until they have leveled off, and so it does become kind of a climb and stop and climb and stop. So I could see where that would get a little annoying after a while, especially if you're on the flight too. But if it's a good pilot, they're making it to where you probably can't even really feel it. So we are on our final climb here. We're just about 3,000 feet away now. So once we get there, I'll bump us to about Mach 0.82 and then step away and grab a drink right quick and be right back after that. I think looking good so far though. Engines look good. Oil pressure, oil temperature is good. Fuel looks good. Battery looks good. We're good. Our tailwind is now turned into pretty solid crosswind off the right with a tiny bit of headwind factored in there as well. About 40 knots too, so kind of harshes our buzz on the big tailwind we were going to have the entire way, but that's okay. That red bar at the top of the screen is our progress bar showing you our departure there at Philadelphia and then how far we have until Miami Executive there on the far right. So about 1/6 of the way there at this point. All right, we are coming up and leveling off at 45,000. So I'm going to come down here to the speed, and if you look over there on the left, so we're at Mach 0.78. I'm going to go ahead and move the auto throttle to one jump there. Took us really high. 0.821 is probably going to be too much. We'll go to 0.821, and we'll see if it wants to give us an overspeed warning once we get there, though. You'll see the little red and white barbershop pole overspeed warning start to creep its way down there. You can see the very tip of it. I think 0.821 we're going to be safe. Just don't want it to be overspeeding when I step away for a moment here. Yeah, I think that's going to be fine. Okay. All right, well, let's hop outside. What kind of view do we want? There's some contrails behind us. That's nice. There's the moon back there. Around 45,000 feet below. So, I don't know what's a good view. I usually like when we can see some ground in there. So let's go. Let's get the moon in there. Let's get some ground in. Let's get us cruising right on the horizon line. And we lose the ground if we do that. Right there. All right. Hang tight. I will be right back. All right, we're back. So now I can make it the rest of the way. Hop back inside and see how we're doing on speed. All right, yeah, we are pretty much right at the threshold there. Mach 0.821. So with that tiny, tiny bit of quartering headwind, you can't see it because my head is right in the way. Down there in the bottom left of the screen kind of shows what our ground speed is. I also have it at the very top of the screen up there. You can see it in the to the right of the altitude in the center there. That's the ground speed. So airspeed, we're at 218 knots or Mach 0.82 at 45,000 feet. And that translates to about a 450 knot ground speed. So not too bad. I'm doing a little bit of looking around on these panels, because I know that I have not used them to their full potential. It's gonna try and, so that'll show me if there's traffic in the area, which I don't care about because there's not. It's cool. Yeah, so okay, so over there on the right where it shows VNav profile, that is something that I have not used on this aircraft, and I don't know if it works like it's supposed to or if it's broken on the Longitude, but all of my climbing and descending profiles I just do by the vectors that they give me through ATC, and then just using vertical speed and trying to kind of do it in my head as, you know, the distance between the waypoints and how much time I have till I get to the next one, and determining then how much I need to descend at what rate and all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of cool to have the legs show up on there and how far you've got to the next one. It does show up on the left screen there at the bottom, right underneath the compass. It shows you your current leg and how far you have to the next waypoint and the time. But I kind of like having that over on the map. I may leave that up there. Okay, airways. Really do anything? Maybe I just need to zoom out a bit. No. Airports. That's cool. It kind of shows up like it does on the little VFR map that they have. This at least tells me where I need to, you know, if we had an emergency and I needed to look for an airport. Navigating that way. Zoom in, I can't read that. Okay, roads. Oh my gosh. Actually, I don't want to do that. I don't want to crash it. Cities and states, not worried about that. North, up above, track vector, wind vector, fuel range. Shows up anywhere on anything. Okay. To altitude. Okay. For the map settings, traffic settings. Shows how you're squawking. That's cool. Option vector. Wow. A lot of stuff I don't know, so I'm going to back out of that. Weather, I know how to do that. We've messed with that before. Direct to flight plan and our procedures and our charts. We've used all of those. Aircraft systems, not operable. Checklist. That stuff probably is operable when we are on the ground, but you know what? I've never actually even clicked those. This entire time I've flown this aircraft, and I've never... I'd be curious to see what the actual checklist is. Huh, I'm going to check that. Maybe I'll look at that when we land, see how much time we have. Mess around with it later on. Music. Huh. I'll have to look and see if these three are operable when you're on the ground or not. That's cool. Utilities, setup. Database status. Okay, so there's the navigraph. I remember navigating here when I connected all that. Avionics settings. Time format, UTC, local 12-hour. Hey, let's do that. Just airport minimum runway length, 3,000 feet. Okay, yeah, if we had to get down, we could make it work at 3,000. Oh, cool. It's magnetic. Speed in knots. Altitude, vertical speed in feet per minute. Okay, happy with that. Alerts, not operable. Audio, MFD fields. thinking, is that the ones that are showing on this center screen up at the very top? Ground speed, desired track. Okay, yeah, so I did just change that one. Okay. Track. Leave that alone. Estimated time en route. So that's going to be the current waypoint that you're on. So we got another minute 16 until we hit the next waypoint. Fuel on board. 856 gallons. Don't need that because I have that right over here on the left on that center screen. You can see how much is in each wing and how much total. Oh, and then, yeah, okay. There's a scroll bar to take us down for more. I haven't been paying attention for that scroll bar. It's hard to see over there, so I'm wondering now how many of these had other things that I didn't go on through. But I think the rest of these are okay. I mean, it's what I've been used to seeing this entire time. So ground speed, distance for the next. You know what I could use is distance to the destination. 3556 Bravo Papa. Good day. Washington Center, Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa is a flight level 450. Yeah, because I actually have the distance to the next waypoint. I've got that on there twice. Yeah. So let's go, and what is end? End is endurance. Desired track, ETE to destination. So I'll have to read up on that. Well, we've got distance to next waypoint twice, so I want to change one of those to distance to destination. Yeah. Fuel over destination. 502 gallons. I'm at 847, so I wonder if that means that's what I'm going to have when I get to the destination. That would be interesting. I didn't do any kind of fuel calculating on how much I would need to make it like an economical flight. I just did it full fuel, so that might make sense. Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and do distance to the destination. There we go. So we're 700 nautical miles away from Miami Executive at this point. Okay. Okay, so some of these had scroll bars. External temperature Celsius. I know that that's the way everyone does it. I'm used to Fahrenheit, so let's go ahead and throw it up there. Actually, where does it even show that? Celsius temperatures there. I think that's all engine related. Fuel, oil temps in Celsius. Maybe I'll just leave it. Yeah, I didn't see where it even shows me the external. Maybe it's over here on one of the options for the map. Alright, that's cool. Fuel in gallons, I'm fine with that. Okay, system didn't have an extra scroll bar. Okay. Alright, so utilities was worth it. Speed bugs, I put those up from time to time. I mean, I've flown it enough now, and we're not really varying the weight of the aircraft a whole lot. You know, we're not hauling huge amounts of passengers like airliners and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, maybe in the future if I want to get ultra realistic, like way realistic, I can I do have a chart that I use that shows kind of based on your takeoff. Well, actually, when we do sim brief and stuff, when we're flying on VATSIM, it's going to have, you know, the fuel calculations and all that, which I think we will go ahead and take all of that into account when we set up the flight and only put the amount of fuel in that we need. So we will then reference that chart quite a bit. So yeah, we'll probably come back here and set these speed bugs then on each flight just to keep it realistic. These are the little icons for the different waypoints on the map. Okay. Go back into the map settings again because I wasn't checking the scroll bars on all the different tabs, and I'm wondering if I might have missed a few. Wind vector. Touch here. Okay, so that brings it up on that map. I'm used to only seeing it down on the bottom left of the left screen, so the fact that it throws it up on the top right of the middle screen, I like that. So I'm going to leave that checked. Because I always get tired of having to kind of pan down my screen to see that. And I think we looked at the rest of these, but what I didn't look at was that if each one of these tabs had additional things to scroll down past. Doesn't look like it. Traffic settings I'm not worried about. Terrain. Yeah, so the absolute is what gives you the more kind of realistic look, which I like that. Map sync, I believe, syncs maybe between the two screens or between if you have another smaller map inset on one of these panels, I think. I keep pointing with my mouse. I don't have it to where it tracks my mouse pointer because it can sometimes get a little bit annoying, but I'm sitting here talking and then I'm circling things with the mouse and realizing you guys can't see them. You can see when I cross a button there, how it'll highlight it. So that's basically where my mouse pointer is right now, but I'll try and do a little better job here. If not, I guess I can always kind of point at the screen. Well, it's going to go away once I leave the frame of it. So really I can't. I can point to this. No, it goes away there too. Well, we'll figure something out. Actually, you know what? I could bring it in like this, and I could say here is the wind gauge I always look at. But now I just realized that I could set it to where there's one right here now. That's just one way to do it, I guess. All right. Well, hey, I figured out a way if I'm saying something and I really need you to know where it's at on the screen, I'll just pan it around like that and make it work. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I think we have explored this quite a bit. The flight plan ones, I use them, you know, to go in here and check stuff and look at it. And speaking of that, I never went in to put in our ILS frequency for the approach. Let's go ahead and do that while we're in here. So we've got the ILS 9 right is what we're going to come in on at Miami Executive. So we're going to go to the frequencies there. And gosh, my memory is horrible. 9 right. I sit here and talk about it and then I forget what it was I said. Okay, so we're going to look for ILS 9 right. And there it is. 108.7, so you can just check it, make it the active nav 1 frequency, and we now have it in so that when we get close to the airport, it'll start looking for that localizer to capture us for that approach. So, other than that, I mean, there's a lot of other stuff on here that this screen does. Standby flight plans, here's the VNAV section. Oh, maybe that's why it never works for me. But see, I don't have all of the waypoint altitude targets in there. So if I had that in, I think then I could start utilizing the VNAV. So may look into that in the future. A lot of people like VNAV, but I've never used it. Flight plan options. Delete flight plan, edit data fields, show on map. Oh, okay, so that's if I just want to show you real quickly on the screen up there what the flight plan is. There it is. So, all right, cool. And these are all of our waypoints. This is where on our approach, look at all of these user waypoints. That's where I feel like it starts doing some crazy stuff. Now, it's showing 0. Let's scroll down here and just look at these. Okay, so it's showing 0 nautical miles for this Leyden waypoint. It's in there twice. Then we have all of these user waypoints, which do have distances. I mean, 4 miles, 6 miles, 1 mile. And then we get back to Leyden again. This is where I feel like it's going to not screw up, but it starts doing, like, we'll be flying in and it'll take a hard right bank and then just come right back to the left again. And I think it's because it's trying to follow some of these crazy waypoints that it puts in. I think, let's do this real quick. So I'm going to go back. Let's go ahead and pull up a chart. For Miami Executive, we're going to go to the approach. We're going to pull in the 9 right ILS. And we're going to go ahead and look at that real quick. Okay. So the 9 right ILS approach is 108.7, what we tuned in. Why doesn't that sound familiar? Okay, it is. All right. I was second guess myself. Okay, so this will be coming in. According to this, we've got Leyden is the last waypoint before we then come in. So we are coming in Virginia Key, VKZ. There it is right up there. Virginia Key VOR. 2,500 feet. So really, Leyden is the only waypoint on this approach. You're 10 miles out from Leyden at 2,000 feet, then you descend to 1,500 feet. 093 heading is the way that I'm reading that. So that you're 1,500 feet at Leyden, and then that's where you should intercept the glide slope from. So looking up here, alternate missed approach Virginia Key. We don't want that. We don't need the missed approach. We want, as we come in from Virginia Key, showing 2,500 on a 256 degree heading into Leyden. Just want to see what it looks like on the VFR map. Ooh, that, I was going to say, let me scroll down. All right, I think that's what those user points are, is doing this. Which that's what you have to do. 2085, 6 Bravo Papa, good day. Washington Center, Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa is a flight level 450. Okay, so we're going to come off. There is our Virginia Key VOR. We're going to come off of that into the Leyden waypoint, which would then be consistent with that approach, saying Virginia Key to Leyden. And then that Leyden takes all of these user waypoints, which should be from this Leyden. Again, I'm pointing with my mouse, so let's do this. So Leyden from here, and then all of those user waypoints is what's going to make up this little loop right here, basically. And then we are going to fly that, get the right direction here with my finger. Yeah, basically fly that loop around and then come back in heading east, and then arrive at the runway right here. Okay, well, I'd be curious to see what that would look like if we were to enter it like on with SimBrief, how that would look. Because yeah, you can kind of see, I mean, that's essentially what this is showing on the flight plan up here. So like right there, you can kind of see, because we're coming in from up here, Virginia, across, we're going to cross the runway and then come past the runway, loop up and over, and then come back in and land back at the runway again. So I don't know if when you grab the localizer, okay, and then that's what this is telling us down here in this box right there, the one straight that way. That's where it's showing you coming in initially from 2,500 feet, and then as you make that loop, you'll start descending into 2,000 feet while making those turns. And then when you come out of that loop headed back to the east, then it'll have you down at 1,500 by the time you hit Leyden for the second time. And that would be... ATC should, the AI ATC should vector us down for that. If we were flying this on VATSIM, I don't know if they would... I don't think they're going to give you every vector to come down. Probably what they would do is give you clearance for the approach. And then at that point, you have clearance to fly those altitudes. So then you would just have to vector yourself. Make sure you're at 2,500 feet as you come into Leyden the first time. And as you make those turns, start descending down to 2,000. And then when you come back through and intercept the glide slope at Leyden, you have to be at 1,500. And it gives you the heading to fly. Okay, yeah, I get this. All right, so if we had no ATC help and we didn't have all of those user waypoints put in, we would come in from the Virginia Key VOR. We should have a way, yeah, we would have the waypoint into Leyden, so it would fly us direct there. At this point, I think, is when we would have to switch over and say, well, that's where I think the localizer would catch, and it would fly you the rest of the route. But if not, that's where you could say, okay, that's a heading 273 this way. And then once we hit that, then you make a heading 318, back around 138 heading down to here, and then a 093 heading into the airport, and that's the runway heading, or the final approach heading. If you look up there at the very top of the chart, you can see that. So, all right, cool. Well, hey, we just learned this chart together, so that's fun. All right, so I'm going to leave that as is. So long story short, that's what I was wanting to double check by looking at that, was to see how it was going to handle the all of those different user waypoints, and if that was really going to screw us up. But I think it kind of knows what it's doing. So, all right. So yeah, eventually want to get in here and mess around with the VNAV option, the standby flight plan. So I guess you could go in here and put in a alternate flight plan and then activate that if you wanted to. And okay, cool. Okay, that was our departure. I was just curious about that because we really didn't. We selected one when we set up the flight plan on the world map screen, but really didn't follow it too much. So there's our departure, there's our arrival, Tarpon, and then the ILS 9 approach. And then, yeah, all these charts, which is just cool. The only way you can access these is if you do have a Navigraph account tied to it. So, in my opinion, well worth the money. I know a lot of people say, if you're a real enthusiast with it, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself, I have a YouTube channel all about it, but at the same time, I'm not doing this like study level, but even still, just having these is, I think it's $8 a month, I want to say, $7.99, $8, something like that, but you can pay for like yearly plans or maybe even 6 months or something in advance and get it for a little bit cheaper than that even. But yeah, totally worth it in my opinion with everything that it gives you here. So, all right, well, let's go back to the map on the screen there. Now that I've got my new wind indicator up here, and there I am talking and pointing with the mouse again. My new wind indicator right there, and my new chart down here that's going to show my waypoints and all that information. So made a little bit of a change there. Love it. All right. Hey, look. We did all of that and we got rid of our clouds. We are going to come into a sunny Miami is the hope here. Well, maybe about twilight by the time we land there, but yeah. So we can see we're just flying right off the coast here. We're over the ocean, but obviously plenty of room to divert over there if we had some sort of an emergency. But yeah, nice view. Want to hop back in and check the other touchscreen panel that's over on the left here. They do have different names. I need to learn them, but yeah, the one right over here does have some different functionalities. These buttons also control something on the main screens, but the zoom and some other stuff, I believe. The nav source is going to go between FMS, GPS, and nav1 and nav2 frequencies. So I think in here, at least it has pretty much every time I've flown an ILS approach, once you hit the localizer and it picks it up, it does go ahead and switch your nav source then to nav1. You used to have to push that manually, but 128.7, 6 Bravo Papa, good day. So that's kind of cool. Well, I always keep an eye on it just in case it doesn't automatically switch over, but it has the last however many times I've flown with it, so. Jacksonville Center, Cessna November 316, Bravo Papa is at flight level 450. These bearing ones, I've never messed with those really. OBS. Never seen these actually lit up before. Maybe they are when we're on the ground, but not when we're in the air. There, you can also set your speed bugs from over on this side. Timers. Basically just a little stopwatch there. That's cool. Here's where you can set your minimums. Should do that. I don't always do it since I'm not flying with AI traffic or anything. I know that I'm typically not going to have any go around situations or anything, but I mean, when it comes to minimums, technically, you know, if you're in bad weather or something, you need to make sure to have that to be able to make your call of whether or not you're going to land and all that. So I should probably get used to putting those in. It'd be a good practice to have. Traffic map. Okay, so that's making a change up here. So let's pan out just a little bit. Okay, so that puts in a little inset map there that'll show any traffic around. Probably we'll start turning that on when we're flying in VATSIM. Not worried about it right now, though. PFD map setting, inset map. Okay, so that's just going to take your little, mainly your map from over there and inset it there. Don't need that, though. Heading orientation, map sync, map detail, traffic. Kind of look at these as I'm hitting this and see if it's making any changes to any of them. Okay. Terrain relative or absolute? Relative or absolute, I believe, is what gives us the more realistic look. So. Oh, right now it's off. Let's go to absolute. There we go. NextRad data. Okay. Aviation. Airways, airports, VORs, INT, NDB. I think now that we're out over the ocean, it's not showing a whole lot on there. I think we'd be seeing a little bit more of that if cities and states. So these are showing up on up above. Seeing what that's doing. Fuel ring. Reserve. Seeing where that's showing up anything. Okay. Alright. Kind of similar to the other settings on the other one. That was PFD settings sensors. Again, I'll have to check and see if that's something that's in use when we're on the ground, because it's not right now. And PFD settings. Okay, I've been in here to do the wind one for sure. Angle of attack is on. Let's see. Okay, so that basically just a little meter, essentially. Let's zoom in on it. It's essentially just a little meter right there. That'll start to show you your angle of attack if you start to get a little too aggressive with it one way or the other. So I have it on, but the other option was auto. So maybe only when you're descending and climbing. Having it on, I've seen it there since I've been flying. I pay attention to it a little bit. Probably should a little more, but SVT train. Okay, so that's what. Looks like it gives color to the terrain below you. So there it's off and it's just showing brown, kind of like a classic, can't even think of what they're called, showing you your angle to the ground and everything. But since we're above the ocean, it makes it blue, and then that probably will start turning green once we get above the ground. Okay, so I have messed with the wind before. So wind option 1, you can see that's going to be changing right here. So basically, this has different options of how that shows. So that's showing you 68 across, 34 head, which that's one way to look at it. I prefer this one, which just gives you an arrow basically in conjunction with if you're sitting looking straight out the front of the plane. So that's coming off of our right side and a tiny bit into our face. So there was an option 3. That gives you the actual heading, the wind heading direction. I should probably start using that. I'm going to leave that one on. It gives me the arrow, plus it actually gives me the heading indicator. So let's start using option 3. Baro select unit in inches or hectopascals. Let's go ahead and keep it in inches. And meters overlay. Ah, cool. For our friends on the metric system. Okay. Well, we have pretty much gone through all of those settings. I'm going to mess with some of these knobs and see if it changes anything on these screens. Just clicking and then rolling the mouse wheel. Not seeing anything with that one. Or that one. Oh, it's changing my frequencies. Oh. The first one did too? No, that first one must do something else. Wondering if you have maybe one of those inset maps in there, if that first knob here on the right will maybe adjust that, zoom in and zoom out. But these two are, if you look right up here, way up there, out of my range, let's bring it down. Right there. If you look at the radio frequencies, when I start turning those knobs, it actually adjusts those. Okay. I always wondered, I thought it was kind of weird that it was specifically just a touch screen, where, you know, I've always been used to you click on it here and then you click on this and then you punch it in on the keypad. I wonder how the real life pilots that fly this aircraft do it, if they punch it in and use the keypad to do it, or if they actually use the knobs down here. Huh. Nice to know that there's an option, but I'm just going to stick with the Logitech one here on the desk. That works just fine for me. Audios and radios. So we can't do anything with the passenger and co-pilot one, so you basically just have control over your nav 1, nav 2. Oh, you know what? I've never gone to... Holy cow. I have never gone down I didn't know you could scroll down past COM2. Speaker. Of course, you can't do anything with it. Okay. Recorder. Can't do anything with it. I saw music. I'm about to get down there to it, and I feel like now that none of these have worked, it's not going to work either. Marker. Doesn't work. ADF. What does that say? It just says active frequency. I don't know what ADF is. Huh. Music. Doesn't work. Rats. Wonder if this is all stuff people can model. Clicks off. Huh. Cool. Well, I wonder if someone could get in there and actually make those operable. That'd be kind of cool. Typically during these flights, I like to give you guys some outside views and things like that, or views from the passenger seat, but we are just now halfway, and so I'm using this as a chance to go through and just play with everything on this aircraft that I don't typically talk about when we do one of these videos, or that I actually use when I fly. So let's get our zoom back to normal here. Still at 45,000, speed still looking good. All right, let's go back down. And I want to go down to, we already know what everything does up here. Passenger safety and seatbelt signs are inoperable, hopefully. Hopefully now that Sim Update 10 came out, which I believe allowed or opened up the coding for all of the aircraft, not just the standard ones, but like the premium, deluxe, and all of those. Hopefully now, if developers have access to all of that, they can now, somebody will go in and number one on the Longitude, number one on my wish list is model out the rest of the cabin. That's number one. If somebody can model out the cabin just like on the CJ4 or the new Mustang that came out that actually has passengers and stuff in it, if someone would do that to the Longitude, that would be legit the coolest thing ever. Got my fingers crossed that there's somebody smart enough out there that can do that and wants to do it. But yeah, so those don't work. Tail floodlights do work, but we don't need them right now. Wing inspection lights. Turn those on usually when we're in the dark coming in for a landing, and just lights up the aircraft even more, makes it more fun to look at, but also helps with a little bit of illumination out front. Speaking of that, I think maybe last week or 3 or 4 live streams ago, I think we flew into wherever it was when it was dark out, and the lighting was just terrible on this thing. We had all the landing lights on, the taxi lights on, everything, and when you looked at it from an exterior view, they were lit up and they were shining out in front of the aircraft onto the ground and everything, but then when you were back inside, it was horrible. And so I don't think that's real life. I think there should have been a little more light than that. I know part of it too is the airports and how horribly lit they are in the simulator, but yeah, I think the lighting on the Longitude may need fixed just a little bit as well. But yeah, all those work, so that's cool. HUD control, push menu, that's all inoperable. It's right behind my head right here. I was trying to see if that does anything. Let's look up. Never really, oh, and there's a phone. See, I've never looked up all the way in here. Obviously inoperable, but nice to know it's there. Do these sunshades actually work? No. So see, this is all stuff that works in some of these latest, smaller business style jets that have come out, especially like the Mustang that just came out, that A319 CEO or whatever they call it. A lot of that stuff is operable, so it would be great if somebody would go to work on the Longitude, because everything else about this aircraft is insane. Love this jet. That's why I pretty much exclusively fly it on this channel. Nothing else. I really don't have the desire to fly anything else. Once I started flying this, I've always been a Citation fan, but once I started flying this, I was hooked. Let's kind of move. Check, see if armrests work or anything. There's my yoke. Like all the breakers and stuff, I don't think any of those are operable. Trying to see if any of them light up. Nope. That doesn't come up. That's not operable. Oxygen mask. Nope. 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 Is that a nose gear steering wheel? I didn't know that a Longitude had that. Assuming that's what it is. I mean, left and right, and in the same place that it usually is on bigger jets. I would think that that's what that is. Huh. That's okay. The rudder pedals work just fine, but that's kind of neat. Gear, obviously our ice and pitot heat, so those all work. I have those mapped to buttons on the Honeycomb Bravo throttle quadrant that I use over here, so I just hit some switches to turn all that on. The tail one is not operable, so maybe in the future. Some Copilot stuff over here, not operable. Map light. Oh, an extra light I didn't know about. So where does that come on from? Above us? Maybe under the dash is where that's coming from. That's kind of cool. Extra light there if we need. Pedal adjustment, yep. Flight hour meter. And right PFD GTC dim. Okay, so that's going to be this main panel in front of the Copilot. So does that adjust the lighting on it? Oh, it's adjusting the PFD over on the far right. Right over there. This thing right here. So if you watch when I'm turning that dial, it's actually adjusting the brightness of that. Cool. Now what's the bottom ring do? And that does the main panel. Awesome. Right above us here. Cool. All right, so those are operable. I could have, passenger seat belts and things may have been, a cooler option to to model rather than that, but no, it's fine. Push to talk button. Oh, that would be neat if that, well, I mean, it wouldn't be because I'm going to put it on the yoke anyway when we start doing VATSIM stuff, but was there one on this side too? Yes, there was, and it's not modeled. Okay, cool. That must be what you do, though, in that aircraft. Must not be on the yoke. Speaking of the yoke, did it have... Okay, that's the Autopilot Disconnect. It works. This is not modeled. Elevator trim is, but I use the elevator trim wheel on the Bravo throttle quadrant, which isn't scaled to this aircraft, or, real life to this aircraft, but that's okay. Okay, so there's two buttons that work on there, so that's neat. Those are both on the Honeycomb yoke as well, so. All right, so that checked out all of that over there. This main panel, so I believe this will, does that adjust the, that is adjusting right now. I thought maybe this main center display here, but it doesn't look like it's doing anything. So this is PFD. These are inoperable. So that just looks kind of like a secondary, well, kind of like a flight planning panel, basically, but it's not operable. It's all on the touchscreens. All of these buttons are. So maybe that's like a backup for it. Oh, it gives you some speed limits here. Oh, just for flaps. Okay. So gear extended operating 230 knots. Flaps at 250. Notch 1 at 250. Notch 2 at 230. Oh, really? Oh, that's a maximum. I was going to say, I don't put the first notch of flaps out until I'm at 185. Or, I'm sorry, 225. And then I put the second notch out at 185. Okay. And then full, max 180, and then full I put on when I'm coming in at like 160 or 150 knots. So, okay. Well, good to know I'm not going past the airspeed limits. All right. Gear can't come down unless you're at 230 or below. Yeah, it doesn't come down until I'm like 150, so that's fine. Turbulent air, 235. Neat. Okay. Power reserve, those are inoperable. This barrow is supposed to work independently of this one. I've actually read that before. Oh, you can't see the one I'm hitting. So this one over on the far right, you can see it lighting up in blue. It actually works it for that little screen right above it. And then the one over here on the left that's now lighting up in blue, that works for the main screen right here, and then adjust that barrel right there. They're supposed to be independent of each other. I actually heard somebody, or I read about it or saw it in a video of an actual Citation pilot, but in the thing they're not. If you start turning one, it's going to adjust it on both of them. So it is what it is. So go down and across. Okay, so we kind of know what all of this does. Flight director, vertical speed, VNav, which now I know I can maybe start using if it actually does work. Maybe I just wasn't enabling it down in the down on those touch screens. Flight level change, autopilot, nav mode, heading mode, approach mode, and altitude hold. And then the flight director for the autopilot side. Course change dial, vertical speed dial, the auto speed adjuster here. CPL, I've heard that before, but I don't remember what it's for, but it's inoperable anyway. Got the half bank mode. Just keeps you from the autopilot from banking over too far. I guess it's more of a comfort for your passenger type of a thing, but I don't use it too often. Heading mode. I think this is back course, to where it'll actually go in reverse order of what your course was you were flying in. I think. Could just be making that up, but I'm pretty sure that's what that does. Altitude adjustment. I do need to use this from time to time. I do have all of these, including these buttons. If you have the Honeycomb Bravo throttle quadrant, it has all of those buttons on them, and a lot of, well, it doesn't have, it has one knob on it, or it has two knobs on it, but you can change the knobs to, you know, for your altitude, for your vertical speed, for the actual auto throttle speed. What else is on there? Your heading, your course. So you can change all of those by adjusting one knob to select that, and then the other knob to basically spin it and get the number that you want. Kind of working like these altitude adjustment knobs. The only downside, and you can see right there where it says right below it, push for fine, is just depending on how this thing wants to behave. Like early on when I'm setting it, I can spin it and it'll be going in hundreds and hundreds of feet. And I don't, you know, when I'm setting an initial climb altitude to 11,000 feet, I sit there and spin it and it starts going 100, 200, 300. And I'm like, no, come on, we got to get up into the thousands. And eventually, if you keep spinning it, it'll start climbing by the thousands at that point. But then what sucks is I've never found that when I start descending and they start giving me, instead of, you know, just 10,000, 11,000, then they get into like 6,600, then I've got to basically hop up here, and then I click on the altitude and hold left click and then right click again, and that will switch you into hundreds. And then I just use that dial then to dial in. You know, if they tell me 7,600, I use my knob on the throttle quadrant to bring it down to 7,000 or 8,000, whichever. And then I climb up here, switch this into hundreds, and then tick it down a few more 100 feet to get to whatever it is they told me. It may be that if I spin the knob enough or slow it down or do something, I can get it back to where it'll go in the hundreds again, but I haven't figured out the trick to it yet. It would be awesome if it had a push-pull mechanism to it, to where, you know, you could pull out to do hundreds of feet and push in to do thousands. But again, it is what it is. I mean, a lot of this stuff, when I started doing Flight Simulator in the early 2000s, when I was in school, I had $15 Logitech joystick and the mouse, and I mean, that's what we used. So to have all of this stuff, even if, you know, some of the knobs and switches don't work exactly like they would in real life, or they kind of have some little nuances to them. You know, you've got panels like this in these aircraft where, you know, they've got one or two buttons that aren't modeled to do what they're supposed to do. I mean, think about where it's been, and this is pretty insane that we even have this much functionality with this kind of stuff. So each time I kind of look at that and I'm like, oh, I wish that was working, you know, like it should or whatever, I just start to think it could be a lot worse. I could just be doing it with a keyboard and a mouse, which again, a lot of people start out that way, and that's if you're up there having fun flying, that's all that matters. Doesn't matter if you have a joystick, if you've got a yoke, if you've got a mouse and a keyboard, just whatever works for you, for sure. Okay, I think we've looked pretty much over this entire aircraft now. I think these little orange things up here, let me come back up, see if I can, right there. Don't know, on the CJ4 they have something to do. There's a little green arrow that'll show you when you're on the glide slope if you're above or below it. I don't know if that's the same or not. 2085, 6 Bravo Papa, good day. I don't know if that's the same thing in here, if that's something similar or how that works. I've never seen those light up or do anything, so I don't know if that's actually what it is, but maybe somebody will know that. That's an actual longitude pilot. It's my dream one day to get an actual longitude pilot in the chat. That would be so amazing. Washington Center, Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa is a flight level 450. I feel like we're about 2/3 of the way there, so we're moving right along. I'm going to go down here and zoom this map out just a little bit. All right, so there's what we got left. If you're looking at that center display down there, moving around. Okay, so that looks good. Happy with that. Oh, the only panel we didn't look at is the one right down here in front of the pilot. Mainly the electrical stuff. Use all of that when we start up. Let's check and see what else is modeled. Okay, what's that? How can I read that? Oh, that's the, I think the little brightness knobs for mine. Let's look at my PFD over here. Like, yep. Oops. Yep, dims it and brightens it. There we go. Cool. And then this one should do the main panel. And it does. Awesome. Is that a little map light for us? Yep. Oh, cool. An extra light I didn't know exist. Sweet. All right. I may use that one when I do plane spotting, because when I get in here, sometimes it's dark. And I have to at least turn on the battery and the external power to get the actual plane fired up so that we can connect to the ATC frequencies and stuff. And it's usually dark, and so I'm up here turning on, you know, floodlights and things like that. But that's sweet that there's a little light right there. Awesome. Pedal adjustment inoperable. These little buttons inoperable. That doesn't work, whatever that is. And then these electrical ones. Pretty sure. Left main, left electric. Interior doesn't work. Right and right main. I have to watch those. I think those turn on when I just do the master battery switch here, which again, I have that mapped to the master battery switch on the Honeycomb yoke here. But then I turn that, yeah, I've pretty much got this startup procedure down. The 2 generator switches, the bus tie, the APU generator. Okay, no, these are the 2 battery switches that come on when you turn this one on. So I'll have to watch that and see. I think that's maybe just showing you that all that's operating and on. Or maybe that's the electrical panel for over here, and then the right one is the one over there. Totally making that up, but if that's right, then I'll sound smart. So, okay. Let's back out, go back to a normal view. Oh, you know what? We haven't gone down. If I'm boring everyone to death, let me know. Oh, wheels up. What do we got here? On this, you line up an orange and white dot, and you're in the right design seating position. You line up an orange and white dot, and you're in the right seating position. Is that on those little things that I wondered if they were for these up here? Oh, I think I know what you're saying. Let's use my patented point method here. Okay, so wheels up, if I'm even on the right track. Okay, cool, yes. So I think I'm on the right track. So this thing here. So I'm thinking that you're saying that if I have, I got to figure out how I can point my finger. Okay, I'm going, there we go. Oh, hold on, let me answer here. 3406 Bravo Papa, good day. Wheels up, coming in clutch with the explanation of what that little thingy is. Awesome. Basically tells you if you're in the right seating position. That's insane. Okay. Jacksonville Center, Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa is at flight level 450. Okay, so basically this one, gosh dang it, there, yep. This is so weird. My camera is right here, so I'm trying to figure out. There we go, left and right. Okay, so if I line up that one there, and then the one right behind it, so basically, not this one. This one's easy to point to for some reason with my fingers wanting to go that way easily, but not, there we go. So these two right here, if I line up those two, then when I'm sitting here, and I guess this is real life too, so like if you're a pilot in the cockpit, this is what it would be like. That's crazy. I can't believe there's actually an instrument to tell you that, or whatever you would call that. Okay, so when I'm looking at it here, so if you can see it up there in the top right, I can't point to it, but right there under the main handle there in the center. So I'm not lined up perfectly, so does that mean I need to go to the left? Now see right there, they're lined up. Does that mean I'm flying in the wrong position? That is so crazy. And then if you're in the co-pilot seat, now they're lined up there. Huh. That is hilarious. The black, white, and the forward orange dot line up to sit you correctly. And that, I mean, there's only 3 dots there, right? So you're talking about the black one. Let's just go ahead and zoom in on them. Yeah, okay, so there's 3 dots. Yeah, so you're saying when you're sitting in the seat, so if I'm in the co-pilot seat on the right side, so if I'm sitting over... It's so weird to try and figure out which way to point. Okay, so if I'm sitting on that side of the plane, over there, then I would want to line up this dot and the main dot. They would need to be in a line when my eye's looking over there. I need to answer this one again. 2416 Bravo Papa, good day. Miami Center, Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa is a flight level 450. Yeah, the black, white, and the forward orange dot line sit correctly. Pilot Aileron, yo, what's up, man? How's it going? We are learning. We've pretty much gone through this entire cockpit. We've got a pretty long flight here. So we're taking the opportunity here to just basically look at every single button and every single modeled feature in here. And so I was wondering what these all were right here. And our man Wheels Up right now is letting us know. He's dropping some knowledge on us. Okay, so the back orange with the front white. Yep. The left orange with the front one. Yeah, so I think I got what you're saying. You basically want to get them in a line. So let me see if I can turn the... Well, I did it when we were sitting over in the other seat, when they were basically getting in line. It was kind of far away and probably hard to see. But so if you're sitting in the co-pilot seat, when you're sitting there and you look to the center of the aircraft, you want to see this orange dot and this in line with each other with your eye angle. And then if you're sitting on the pilot seat on this side, then you want to have this dot and the white one lined up. And we basically kind of did that. I'll do it one more time when we were sitting there. I'm probably never going to use this again because I've already gotten used to flying where I fly. But I'm going to do a... Okay, and now I'm going to hop back. Hopefully it should reset. Okay, so this is where my default camera view always comes from. Now, using that logic, though, if you look at those up in the top right, I wish I had my mouse pointer going. You know what? Actually, let me see if I can change it real quick in OBS. Cursor. Show me something that says show cursor. I think I can remember clicking it when I set all this up because I didn't want the mouse to just be flying around in the cockpit distracting everything. But now it's a pain in the butt because when I want to show something, I can't. There it is. Hide OBS. Oh no, it's hide OBS windows. Dang it. Maybe it's an advanced feature. We've got time. I mean, got nothing but time here. Second, but I'm not seeing it on just the general tab. I'll look it up here in a second. But yeah, so basically, sitting there staring with my eyes wide open, the contact's about completely dried out. There we go. Yeah, so basically, the way I'm sitting right now in the cockpit is my default view. And if we go with the little, whatever you want to call it, that little tool there that Wheels Up just told us it's for positioning yourself in the cockpit, technically, this would be the default view I should be sitting at, which is kind of cool. It brings in the left window a lot more. I don't mind that. It does take out more of the right side window. Interesting. I think I'm going to leave it as is for right now, but that's awesome. Thank you, Wheels Up, for that little bit of knowledge tidbit. That was, that's cool to figure out what that is. Yeah, I wonder, now I need to go back and look at the CJ4 because I do know for a fact that it had, it's like a little indicator of, I think when you're on the glide slope, if you're too high or too low. It's got like a little, an upside, well, it'd be like a V on top, and then a dot, and then below it, an upside down V. Basically 2 carrots pointing at a dot. And when you start to go above or below the glide slope, then those little carrots light up on each side of it. And I would assume that that's what that is for, but now I need to go back and look at it and see if there's this little guide here that shows you where to line yourself up in the cockpit too. That's cool. See, you learned something new. Now, did you know that Wheels Up from like personal knowledge? Are you a citation pilot, or did you just hear that somewhere? Okay. We've got a little ways to go. We're going to start hitting some waypoints here pretty soon, resulting in some turns left and right and back and forth. I have not taken a window seat view yet, but at 45,000 feet, they are all going to look about the same. Not a whole lot of terrain to be seen from this altitude. Depending on how long this approach takes, we might get in before sun starts to set, or we might come in right at about sunset. I love when the sun reflects off of the tail. It was doing it off the wing earlier, and now it's, let's get it, there we go, just where it starts to reflect off the tail. Too much, don't want to blind us. That's cool right there. That looks like a gigantic tail light. Did I pretty much hit everything? Oh, the throttle quadrant, that's right. I got distracted by the little seating guide up there. Yeah, so this was the last part we were going to look at. It's okay, so control lock, inoperable, kind of cool. Aileron trim, I've got that set up on the yoke here to adjust that, but that's where you would change that. Rudder trim, I also have that on the yoke. Since I have this trim wheel on the throttle quadrant, I use one of the, it's kind of different because on the right handle of the yoke, it's got, you know, a left and right double trim, just like exactly like this aileron trim, and that's what I use for it. On the left handle, it's got an up and down for the elevator trim, which was just like it was up here. I believe it's right there. But since I use the wheel to do that, I actually made that one the rudder trim, and I use up to go right and down to go left, I think. But I rarely ever trim the rudder, so it's not too important to me. Pitch, reconnect. Those are all inoperable, but I'm guessing this is some kind of backup. You know, if you have an emergency, this is the manual way of doing some things. Eventually want to learn those because I want to get to the point where I don't even have to think twice when flying this thing in the simulator. That's my ultimate goal. What is this big pad right there? I'm wondering if, oh, I see, can't really turn it. I can kind of point to it. Right there, well, yeah, here. Further right. Yeah, the pad that's to the right of that white lettering. Wonder if that's a big touchpad. Like a big mouse, you know, touchpad mouse. I could see where that might be what that is. Then we got our APU. You know what that is, obviously. What is this? Right engine bleed air. Okay, so the right and left engine bleeds. I've read about those, heard about those. I know that's a very real thing, and when you're flying absolutely 100% realistic, that is something that is important to know exactly how it works and how it functions. So you can make a change here, it looks like, from normal to something else. I'm not going to do it while we're in the air, but that's something I need to read up on because it appears those are operable, which is kind of cool. APU bleed as well, but none of these other ones are. But yeah, I want to read up on the bleed air functionality and how those should be utilized if you are trying to fly 100% true to scale here. Flaps reset, there's nothing there. Flaps button, obviously, we have that tied to the flap knob, or not the knob, but the I'll take a video sometime of my setup here. I've 3D printed a few parts to make this more of a business jet style throttle quadrant, but I do have a flap. I use one of the, whatever you want to call it, one of the handles there that you would use, you know, on this throttle quadrant. Has, how many's it got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So I use 2 of them for throttle. I have one of them closed up. I don't use it. I have one of them for the speed brake, and then I have one of them for the flaps, but then I also utilize another one of them to put in this piece that I 3D printed that actually creates little step downs for the flaps. And on the Longitude, there's 3. So the place that I 3D printed it from, where I got the plans, you know, they have them for 10, 7, however many stops you have, you know, for your flaps, however many different settings. So like on the airliners and stuff, you know, when you got 7, 8, 9, 10 different flap positions. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I need to do a video sometime of just, because I always talk about it and I'm sitting here looking at it, pointing at it, and I realize you guys can't see what I'm talking about. So I'll do a video sometime of that. But okay, so we got the flaps there, this press mode, this isn't operable. Cabin dump is operable. It's got the little red switch on it, so I'm guessing that's, or the little red cover, so that's making you think twice before you actually click it. So I have to read up on what that does and when that should be used. Guessing it's more of an emergency situation. These don't work. Cockpit temperature, normal, cold, and hot. And they actually work. Awesome. Wonder if they actually do anything or have any effect on the flight dynamics or anything. We'll leave it on normal for now. None of those work. That's the one for the other side. And then there we've got our engine start and stop buttons. We got the parking brake. I've got that tied to a switch on the throttle quadrant as well to engage and disengage that. That looks like, is that another? I wonder if that's the brightness for the two main panels right there. Yes, it is. And then this is probably the brightness for that center panel. Yep. Cool. Okay. So there's that. Let's not put on any speed brakes accidentally. Okay. The ground spoilers, we use those. There's the elevator trim. Secondary trim. Okay, so that actually works. So I'll have to read up on that. Stabilizer, primary trim, channel select. Oh, okay. Speed brake, I have that tied to one of the slots on the throttle quadrant. There we've got the fuel valve open. Okay, so you actually can transfer which tank you want the fuel to come from, so that's kind of cool. So I guess if you have a leak in one of them and you want to only have it coming out of the left side or the right side, that's neat. Or if you need to balance something out, maybe weight-wise, I don't know. I'm sure there's reasons why you would change that. Fuel boost pumps. Now, I've never used these during the startup procedure. The startup procedure for this jet, I feel like, is in question because when I've watched other tutorials on it, a lot of people do it differently when they go to start it. In terms of, do you hit the starter button first and then the run stop button? Do you hit that first and then this? I've read real life pilot reports from pilots that fly the Longitude in real life that say, this is the way I've started doing it because I swear this is what they said in their report, was they hit the run stop button, turn it to run, and after like 2 seconds, it should introduce a certain PSI of air pressure into the engine, which I don't know if that would then show up here. I've tried hitting it and watched to see if any of these numbers change, and they don't, so that may not be something that actually shows up on here. But they say they do that, and then so basically they hit this, turn it to run after about 2 or 3 seconds, then they hit the starter button, and then the engine starts up. One of the tutorials I watched showed that you were supposed to hit the starter button first, and then hit the run button, and then you would watch them both come up. And then I saw another tutorial that said start the starter button, and then you would need to watch, let the N2 here come up to about at least 25, and then that toolbar off there, there we go. And then you would hit the run button, and then that would engage the fuel flow, and then you would see the N1 start to come up. So it's kind of a up in the air issue. Again, if we could get an actual Longitude pilot on here, that would be amazing, because then I could hear exactly how you're supposed to do it, and then it would no longer be a question. But yeah, so the fuel boost pumps, those are not part of any startup procedure that I've seen. So I would be interested to know if that, maybe they just operate like they should, and you only engage these if there's a variation or a deviation from the normal startup procedure. But yeah, interesting. Power transfer, inoperable. Hydraulic pumps, inoperable. So, okay, we won't worry about those. Here is the auto throttle buttons. Now, it was a pain in the butt trying to figure this out. I did see when I was printing some throttle handles, some 3D printed handles, there were some plans out there, and then there were also some people selling them. So I guess if you want to pay some money for it, there's people that actually sell these throttle handles with the auto throttle button in, and then I think also the toga button over here that's on the left side of it. And you can see, yeah, there I'm getting it to barely highlight in blue on the very right side of the right throttle handle. But they sell those, and they're operable. So if you want to be able to have those switches in the actual handle itself, that would be awesome. I thought about trying to make one myself, and then decided, no, I'll just map the button to one of these toggle switches on the throttle quadrant. easier said than done because, again, some of these buttons on here that only have toggle functions, and then the way that the button is designed in the flight simulator, it doesn't like toggles, and so I just kind of had to find a workaround for it. But long story short, I have the auto throttle button on the throttle quadrant itself, so that's fine with me. I don't have a toga button, so an operable one on the throttle, but yeah, those are where all the buttons would be on the actual throttle handles, so very cool. There's the side one there. There's a better view of it. You can see it on the very far right side of the screen. So, okay, now I think we have officially looked at every single thing in this jet. And my main view just went crazy. So let's go back out here. We're way zoomed in. That's our problem. Zoom back out to 50%. There we go. Go back in. Okay. Where are we at? We're still up at 45,000 feet, and I think we are on the coast. We're on the east coast of Florida. Oh, yeah, for sure. Let's come down here now with my new numbers I have up here. Okay, so we are estimated time of arrival being 10:09, and that's going to be my local time. So it is 9:41 right now. Okay, so we're about 30 minutes out. We have 215 miles to the airport. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to say coming up here somewhere around 180 miles to the airport, we need to start slowing ourselves down and should be getting vectored down at that point. So I don't want to have to slow down all of a sudden when they give us our first vector. So when we pass this next waypoint, this Japod waypoint, I think I might start slowing us down just to anticipate. I'm going to zoom in the map here just to get a little bit closer. Yeah, I think we'll start. Once we make that left turn, then we'll think about slowing down. There we go. There's Florida. I bet they are happy to, well, they're not seeing it right now because their local time, it's actually dark, but I spun the clock back just a little bit so we wouldn't be flying in here in the pitch black. But I bet they are happy to be seeing sunshine after that monster of a storm they got. Once again, wheels up. Thank you, man, for dropping in and giving us some of that information that you did on those, I don't know what we would call them. I guess we'll just call them little alignment tools, alignment buttons. Would have never thought that's what that was for. 3225, 6 Bravo Papa. Good day. Miami Center, Cessna November 316, Bravo Papa is a flight level 450. Look at Florida down there, or at least not seeing just ocean anymore. Send and maintain 350, 6 Bravo Papa. Start that descent very slowly, and I'm going to go ahead and bring our speed back. I'm going to go ahead and get back to about 0.7 8 Mach. That'll work. And we'll drop that vertical speed to be descending at about 2,500. And everything we looked at earlier in terms of the ILS approach and all the waypoints and everything that was figured in and our altitudes, everything should work pretty well based on our vectors that we will get from ATC and the waypoints that we have keyed into the FMS there. So we should be good to go. Work our way toward Miami Executive. I wonder if the values up here on this main center screen, numbers up in purple, if I have access to those to put on the overlay up at the top of the screen, because I could see we've already got ground speed, which is fine. The DTG, the distance, I'm going to call it distance to go. I don't know if that's exactly what it is, but or if that's exactly what it stands for, but it would be nice to have that up there. Well, I have the red bar that kind of gives everybody an idea of how close we are to being done with the flight, but either that or the ETA that's now in just on standard time. I think they have the ETE, but I don't know if it's looking at the waypoints, like the main one in the center of the screen is there. It's showing 3:03 right now. That's just showing you the time left before you hit the next waypoint. But the ETA, showing like 10:15 p.m., I think that would be nice to have up there. That way people could see that and then know about what time if they wanted to hop out and then come back, to catch the landing. Because looking at some of the statistics from the videos when I post them, it's pretty clear that the landings, some people like the takeoffs. I think part of it is just that's where everybody starts the video, is at the beginning of it. But a lot of people like scooting right to the end to see the landing. So I started something 2 Fridays ago. I didn't do it last Friday. But I was just trying to think, maybe some, because I'd like to stream Friday nights. That seems like a time that works for me and my family. And I know sometimes there's some people that tune in on Friday nights to different streams and stuff. But I started one a couple of Friday nights ago, and I called it Friday Night Finals. And basically all we did for a couple hours in the stream was just spawn ourselves in about 15 miles out from different airports, and then we would just shoot the finals and just do them visual the entire way, and just do landings. And I mainly did that because, like I said, when I would look at my my videos and see, what is it people are enjoying, what do they like, a lot of people like the landings. And so I thought, well, if I do a live stream once a week that's just solely landings, and in 2 hours, if you're just doing 15-mile final approaches and landings, we can get a ton of them in. And so I think we did 6 or 7, maybe 8 different landings in that one live stream. So if that's something that you guys would be interested in, or maybe I'll just do it again one of these days and see how it performs in terms of views. If it's something that seems like people like watching, then I'll do that more often. But I know too, some people just like longer haul flights like this, because we're coming up on 2.5 hours now, flying from Philadelphia down to Miami here in our private jet. So, I mean, ultimately, I like doing the thing. I want to do the flights that I enjoy doing, because if I'm not on here having fun, I know it's not going to translate well to people wanting to watch and, have fun with me. But I also want to do things that, people want to see. And if landings are a descend and maintain 230, 6 Bravo Papa, if landings are a fun thing that everybody enjoys, I love doing them too. I mean, I like it just as much. So I always say realism is first and foremost the number one goal of this channel right now. I want to try and do these flights as realistic as possible. But, there's nothing wrong with a Friday night stream where all we do is shoot landings the entire time. That sounds like a lot of fun to me too. So maybe we'll do that. Sprinkle those in periodically here and there. So this Friday, though, I think is going to be reserved for my first flight on the VATSIM network. I think I'm going to finally make that jump over and queue up my first flight on Friday night. I'm doing it on a live stream. I was talking with Kip on the Ground was on here the other night, and we were chatting about it, and he asked me if my first VATSIM flight, if I was going to do, if I was going to stream it live, and I said, yeah, why not? And he said, oh, that takes some guts, and I thought, well, if I'm going to be embarrassed, might as well share it with everybody. There's no hiding it. I think it's going to go okay. I've plane spotted enough over the last couple of weeks on the VATSIM network to know that you don't have to be perfect on it. You just have to have a general idea of what you're doing, and I feel like I have somewhat of a general idea, so. And if you're interested in learning how or wanting to kind of get practiced up for the VATSIM network, I just released a few videos in the last few days kind of showing how I do my ATC on here, where it seems like I'm talking to the AI ATC, but I'm really not. This has really helped me get practiced up. 3215, 6 Bravo Papa, good day. So I have a video out there showing how I disable the pilot voice so that I can read these back. And that's really helped a lot. Miami Center Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa is descending through 30,000 down to 230. Continuing to come down here. I'm going to keep our speed here. We're fine. Tarpon, I think, is the waypoint that I'll start slowing it down. That's when we start getting, probably start bringing us down at more of a rapid rate at that point, so. But yeah, I have that video out there, and then one that I just released today actually showing how you can, I mean, it's not anything new. There's a ton of tutorials out there already, but this was in response to a direct comment that I had on one of the plane spotting videos that I do from someone wanting to know. I think he was getting at kind of how do you get into observer mode and just listen, but he was having trouble even getting ATC audio to show up. And so I think it was probably the fact that he didn't have a microphone input, because if you think you're just wanting to get on there and observe, you probably think there's no reason to have a microphone. But if you don't have, if vPilot is not recognizing a microphone input, it's not going to give you any audio back. I learned that after 2 or 3 hours of just sitting there trying to figure out what did I have not plugged in right, or what setting did I have that was not right. And then I finally realized it was that I didn't have a microphone turned on. And so once I did that, I immediately started hearing the ATC chatter, and that's when I figured out, okay, that's what you have to do to make that work. So I put out a video today just kind of showing how to make sure those settings are set up correctly. And then also he had asked about the FSLTL AI traffic model matching stuff that has come out in the last couple of weeks. Just doing the VATSIM side of that, not putting the model matching injector, you know, to where it puts it into the actual game when you're playing that way. This was just specifically for when you want to try and do some model matching with VATSIM. So those videos are out there if you are looking to set any of that up, or, you know, like I said, get started with VATSIM and stuff. That'll be out there. But now that I think about it, this will probably be the last flight that I do on just the AI ATC like this. I mean, obviously I'll fly some here and there, especially if there's no controllers online. But even I've kind of decided if there's not VATSIM controllers online where I want to fly some night, if we do a live stream and just there's absolutely nobody on for whatever reason, I'm still going to fly it and probably try to pick some airports where I see a lot of other VATSIM people flying around in, and we'll just get on Unicom and practice our Unicom air traffic control, not air traffic control, but Unicom phraseology and communication, you know, announcing when you're flying in, you know, to an airport that's untowered, or send and maintain 14,000, 6 Bravo Papa. Sounds kind of weird saying that flying into an airport that's untowered, like, you know, you fly into JFK or something and you're using Unicom frequencies. But I mean, like, you know, obviously if somebody's not online with ATC at that point when you're when you're flying in there. Okay, before I start this descent, I'm going to go ahead and back us off to about 280 knots. Nah, 290. All right, and then we're going to descend to 14,000. We were getting just a little bit speedy there. All right, we'll bring this down about 2,000 feet again. 2,500 will be fine. But yeah, I mean, even like I said, if there's not controllers online at airports that I'm flying to in VATSIM, then we'll use Unicom and stuff. So yeah, this may be one of the... If I fly on the AI ATC, it'll be few and far between for sure. I'm going to try and do as VATSIM as much as I can, because like I've said 100 times, I'm trying to do as realistic as possible when it comes to the citation and stuff on this channel. And then obviously with the plane spotting, getting in there with the VATSIM ATC, and then I try to, trying to get the model matching down with that to where liveries and aircraft types are showing up correctly, and we're plane spotting some of the VATSIM players, and trying to make that as realistic as possible. Some of these shots that we get in some of these plane spotting videos are insane, and I mean, especially when you get them right at about the twilight hour and the sun shining off of some of the aircraft, you could almost show somebody a quick 5-second video of that and ask them if they can tell you if that's real or not, because it is insane how realistic it looks. And so I've really gotten into to trying to do some plane spotting on the channel. And ultimately, like I said, when I started the channel, it was mainly going to be about flying the Citation and Microsoft Flight Simulator and trying to do it as realistic as possible. But once I started to discover the plane spotting aspect of it as well, the channel's only been around for about a month now, but I've already kind of changed it up a little bit to where it's basically built around citation, realistic flights in the simulator using VATSIM and things like that, starting Friday, obviously, and then plane spotting. That's essentially what the two live streams that I do are going to kind of revolve around. So that's the ultimate goal for the channel as of right now. So if that stuff interests you, feel free to subscribe and come hang out on any of these live streams I do right now. I'm trying to do them as often as I can. I know that's not going to be sustainable forever, but for right now, I'm almost daily doing a live stream of some sort, whether it's plane spotting or just a flight like this. So just keep an eye on the channel, and you'll see I try to post it maybe before, at least maybe 4 or 5 hours before I go live. So I think if you hit that little notification bell on there, it'll tell you once I've posted something that says I'm going to go live. So you can use that as well to kind of help keep you in the loop. But yeah, to me, this is fun. The plane spotting is a blast, but I also like doing this where we do a good 2.5 hour flight and just hang out. And the other night, Kip on the ground gave me basically an entire RNAV tutorial when he dropped in, and I'd made it known that my last several RNAV landing attempts had basically resulted in just full-on VFR attempts because I just, for the life of me, couldn't get the RNAV to work right. And so he stepped me through as we were flying what I needed to do and some of these little things that I didn't know what they did. And so that's what I love about doing this kind of stuff, is when you get guys like that know what they're doing and can help you out. And then obviously Wheels Up tonight giving me the information about what that little unless he's trolling me extremely hard right now and he's just sitting back laughing going, I can't believe he actually thinks that's what that's for. But you know what? It makes sense, because I probably am a little bit left in the seat right now. So if you're in the default view, which I think is probably right here, it makes sense because those little points are lining up. So I'm going to say he's not trolling me and that is actually what that is. But if you are trolling me, then hats off to you, because I bit hard on it. But it does make sense to me. Descend to maintain 6,000, 6 Bravo Papa. All right, we need to slow way down before we drop down to that. We're going to go ahead and back it off to about, I'm going to go ahead and slow it to 225. It's not going to get there because it's going to be descending too much, but at least I know that that's where it'll work its way down to. Forgot to click the button. Yes, I did copy, and I even read it back to you.
Cessna 6 Bravo Papa contact Miami Center on 123.775.
there's 2,500 feet a minute. 23775, 6 Bravo Papa. Good day. Miami Center, Cessna November 316, Bravo Papa is descending through 12,000 down to 5,000.
Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa Miami Center altimeter 30.02. Continue as planned.
Cool. All right, so we're at about 233 knots.
9 miles northeast. Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect ILS runway 9er right approach via Victor Kilo Zulu transition. Clear to Victor Kilo Zulu.
Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect ILS runway 9 right approach via Victor Kilo Zulu transition. Cleared to Victor Kilo Zulu. 6 Bravo Papa. That was hard to say. All right, once we get steady at this 225 knots, we're still descending. We're at 230 knots. We still got 5,000 to go. So once we get steady at the 225, I'll go ahead and put in the first notch of flaps. But we have 5,000 feet to go. We're descending at 2,500 feet, so that's 2 minutes. And if we look down here, Victor Kilo Zulu is, we're 5 minutes away from it. So we will be down to 5,000 feet before we hit that waypoint. So based on our 2,500 feet per minute descent. So that will give us time to get down to 5,000, slow to the 225 knots, and then we'll go ahead and throw in the first notch of flaps. Passenger windows here. I think the left, we're still looking at clouds and mainly ocean over there. But we got some Florida coast off to the right.
Bravo Papa contact. Miami approach on 125.5. Good day.
25.5. 6 Bravo Papa. Good day. Miami approach Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa is at 7,800 descending to 5,000.
Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa Miami approach altimeter 30.01. Continue to Victor Kilo Zulu as planned.
There's a cruise ship right out the front of the window there. Hop outside and see. I think it is. I do have I think it's a ships and ferries and boats add-on that I have installed. I don't know if the cruise ships would normally spawn without that, but that, yep. Actually, got a second, let's mess around here and move to the drone cam and see. Is it Royal Caribbean? Boy, wouldn't that be crazy if it's actually... Can't tell what it is. It's got the big slide on top. I've only been on a Carnival, so I don't know. 500 feet below? I better get back inside. Did they not clear me to 5,000 feet a second ago? Climb and maintain 6,000 feet. 6 Bravo Papa. What? Okay. Well, that definitely slowed us to our 225 knots. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the first notch of flaps here. I got to scroll back up. I swear he said descend and maintain 5,000. He said descend and maintain 6,000. Whoops. My bad. I'm going to climb up to 6 just to be vectored back down immediately. That's okay, though. That would have got us in trouble on VATSIM. I was too busy rambling about whatever it is I was rambling about. Alrighty. Ooh, that's a good opportunity to look out the right window. Cool. I assume that's Miami down there. Only ever been to Orlando, and that was several months back. Well, no, Orlando and then Tampa. We flew home out of Tampa, so never been down in the Miami area. My wife has. She's been on a cruise out of the Miami area, but I have never been down there. That could also be what else is right there? Fort Lauderdale. That might have been what that is, because I know they do a lot of cruise things out of there as well. All right, back up front because we actually have to fly a plane. Ships. Reset our position on the drone cam. Kind of got a little crazy looking at cruise ships. Although that's exactly what I'm going to do again here. Neat. There's a stadium. Very cool. Okay. Descend and maintain 2500, 6 Bravo Papa. All right, we're done now. All right, so here's where I'm down to 3000. Now I got to come to the altitude, right click on it, turn it to hundreds, and now get to my 2500 because reasons, that's why. All right, so we are dropping. I'm also going to use this time to go ahead and slow us down. We're going to go ahead and move it to 200 knots. Again, we're descending, so it's not going to slow down that much. Actually, we've picked up some speed here, which is okay. I just want to have it set so when we do start leveling out at 2500, it's going to know to slow itself down. And I'm going to go ahead and move it down to 185 knots at that point. And then once we descend down through, down to 185 knots, I will go ahead and put in that second notch of flaps. We can use some speed brakes if we're a little worried about it. We do need to be at the 2500 when we come up on this laden waypoint. So if I feel like we're getting there too quick, which we're not going to, we'll easily make it down before that. But we can go ahead and throw up the speed brakes. That same CRJ pilot I mentioned earlier that was on another stream, when he was talking, was giving some advice to the pilot and said, use your speed brakes. And he said, really? You know, I think a lot of people think that's just for on the runway when you need to slow down after you've landed. But he said, no, speed brakes are on planes for that exact reason. There's no limitation on them. Now, if he was just speaking in the sense of the CRJ, that may be true. I don't know if that's the same for all jets, so don't use don't take that with a grain of salt. But according to him, he said, yeah, that's what it's there for. You need to slow down. Use the speed brake handle and slow yourself down. So, like right here where we were looking outside at cruise ships and they gave me my descend and maintain 2500, and I was still trying to zoom in on a cruise ship and look at it and then hop back into the cockpit and try to descend quickly. If we're doing that and we need to slow down and we can't because we're descending too quickly, throw up the speed brakes. I mean, there's no reason not to. So nice to know that. I've done that in the past before. I assumed that it was okay to do that, so I'm glad my assumption was correct. But yeah, I'm thinking if you put speed brakes on a plane, I mean, that's what they're there for. I can't imagine they are only there to be used when you're hurtling down the runway right after you've landed. They work great there as well, but yeah, okay to use them too when you need to slow yourself down. Let's go ahead and look out the... Okay, we're at 185 knots. So you can see we leveled off at 2500 quickly and then slowed right down to 185. So turning that on, I'm going to go ahead and turn on our landing lights since we're down here at 2500 feet. Still got a little ways to go. We still got to come out here and make this loop. Actually, let me zoom in on that map because you can't see it right now. It looks like a big jumbled mess. We still got to go down and make that loop. You can see down there on the center screen. So still a little ways to go. We're actually going to pass the airport right out the left side here. So I'll cut to that view and maybe we'll see it as we fly by. Miami has a lot more trees than I thought, assuming that modeling is correct. And I guess technically we're not, I mean, it's Miami Executive, but it's, what is it? I put it in the title. No, I didn't. I put it in the description. It was Miami-Opa-locka Executive Airport because it is apparently actually in Opa-locka, Florida. So all of you Floridians that are watching are saying, duh, of course it is. But yeah, Miami Executive, I just assumed it was in Miami, Florida. Oh, I love when the sun is shining right back into us and it lights up the nacelle of the engine there, right here. That is awesome. All right. Okay, so we're passing by. Should be coming by. Yep, there it is. Right out our window. So we're going to come down here, make a turn, come back in on final. And descend and maintain 2,000, 6 Bravo Papa. The, look, I forgot what runway we're landing on. We're going to be past it by the time I can turn back around and look, so I won't worry about it. But I figured we could look out the window and see the runway we would be landing on. All right, so I think when we pass by Leyden here and we enter that turnaround loop, we should intercept the localizer at that point. So I am watching right now to see if it does grab onto the localizer here as we go by. And let me zoom in because I've had some people ask me about that in chat and in some comments. So right here, we're watching for that to switch to LOC. And that's where I told you before that used to be, I thought, in this aircraft that you had to put it, and maybe it's in the stock aircraft, if you don't have the working title mod, you would have to move this to nav mode, this nav source that's right up here, where we looked at earlier where it said FMS, that button right there. You would have to switch that over to nav 1 to be able to find the localizer. Now, every other time I have flown this, it just automatically grabs it and picks it up and switches that to LOC, or switches that to nav 1, and the LOC then shows up there where the FMS is, basically sim showing you that you've grabbed the localizer at that point. So, all right, now we are basically in a throttle management game. So I'm going to keep it at 185 knots through this turn. As we come out of the back side of the turn and are heading back to the east, then I'll go ahead and slow it down to about 100. I'll go ahead and put it at 150 knots at that point. At that point, we'll have our final notch of flaps in. We'll have our gear down. We already have our landing lights on. Everything else will be good, and we'll be, at that point then, looking to intercept the glide slope as we pass by Leyden for the second time around. So that is just kind of a breakdown of what's going to happen here in the next few minutes. Okay, so here's the first leg of that turn. Now, it may be that we're not going to get that localizer until we come out of all of this turn, so I'll back off just so we can see. This is always fun flying over Florida at 2,000 feet because it's pretty nice out, so I don't want to just be staring at a screen down there. Kind of turn here and give us a look out the pilot window as well. We can still see if it switches over to localizer mode from there. So pretty nice. Look, I'm assuming this is a lot of marshland out here. Let's outside real quick and see. Yeah, I would say that that's, well, if that's the way that it's supposed to be rendering in, I would say maybe. Okay. start to make the left turn. So I'm going to keep this view right here because should be a pretty nice one when we start to make this left turn.
Cessna 6 Bravo Papa, you are 14 miles west of Miami. Contact Miami Tower on 118.9er when inbound.
Such a weird tower name. I'm just going to call it Miami Executive. 189, 6 Bravo Papa. Good day. Making that left turn, I'm going to go ahead and contact the tower and let them know we are on the approach. PA Miami is what it is. I'm just going to call it Miami Executive. Miami Executive Tower, Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa is 13 miles west on the ILS 9 right approach at 2,000 feet.
Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa to Miami Tower. Altimeter tree 0.0110777 at tree. Cleared ILS runway 9er right approach.
Cleared ILS 9 right approach, 6 Bravo Papa. All right, so we are clear on the approach, which means we can then change altitudes or do whatever it is we need to do, but they should go ahead and still vector us. I think it was, what was it, 1,700 feet or something we needed to be when we crossed the Leyden for the second time. I believe that's what it was. Okay, so we're out of that turn. I'm going to go ahead and slow us down now to, we're just going to go down to 150 knots. That's at the point where I like to be coming in, and then I'll take control of it and bring it down to about 140 as we cross the numbers on the runway. So it's going to start bringing us down, and at this point, when it gets to about 160, 155, I will go ahead and go final notch of flaps. There's final notch of flaps. I'm going to go ahead and put the gear down. And now we are in localizer mode, so I'm going to hit the approach button, and we are now in approach mode. So that all happened pretty quick. If you didn't catch it all, that FMS I was pointing to earlier on the main flight display right in front of us, it switched to LOC, which means we had grabbed the localizer frequency, which is now going to put us on the runway heading and bring us straight in. And that's putting it in approach mode allows that now to happen. It leaves the GPS mode that it was in before. And now we are going to be intercepting the glide slope. We're going a little slow. I'm going to pick us up a little bit to maybe about 155 knots. And now we're basically going to be coming in, and you're going to see, well, this is another opportunity to point. Now that I figured out this fun way I can point at things, you're going to see that green diamond and that green G right there slowly work their way down toward the middle, right about there. And right when that green diamond hits that line, you're going to see that white GS right there turn green, and then you're going to notice the plane's going to start to descend. And what that's doing is it's descending on the glide slope, which means it's basically just the angle of descent is perfect to stay on a glide path as we come down into the airport to land. And realistically, I mean, I don't know in real life how long you're supposed to stay on autopilot for all of that to happen. I have let this basically take me right to the edge of the runway and then taken off autopilot and then just land it. So it's definitely not an auto land type of a thing. Don't just leave it on that, because if you don't have your pressure set correctly, your barometer or other things, you know, you can, it's not always perfect too. It may not have you perfectly lined up on it, but you can, it pulls you in. You can use it and get pretty darn close. Like here, I'll probably let it bring us in quite a bit of the way before taking it over. So when we get to this Leyden waypoint, which is here in another, looking down here, minute and a half, once we cross that waypoint, that's where we should intercept the glide slope, and then we'll start to come down. So we will keep an eye on that. Nicholas Chamberlain, hey, how is it going, man? I'm here for the best part. 300 subs are... Really? 300 subs. Let me look. I know we were at 290. Oh, you're right. We are at 302. Cool. Well, that's neat. I'm here for the best part. 300 subs already. I spotted 2 Boeing 747s today on Flight Radar 24, and I found 10 Airbus A380s. They were all going or leaving Dubai. Now that's in the simulator, because yeah, Flight Radar 24 isn't that? That's the thing that the FSLTL or whatever it is works off of, right? And when you say you spotted them, like were you doing like plane spotting in the flight sim? Because if so, awesome. By the way, we just intercepted the glide slope. That GS has now turned green, and now you can see we're starting to descend. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring us to about 150 knots. Do a final check here. Our gear's down. Our flaps are at full. We're going to get our landing clearance. Cleared to land. 9 right, 6 Bravo Papa. All right, now we are good to come in. And there is our runway, dead center in front of us. You want to keep that green diamond right in the center there, right in line with the altitude indicator. So if it starts floating above or below, you just kind of control that with throttle if you want to leave it on the autopilot. At any point here, you can take it off the autopilot and just try to keep that green diamond there by controlling your speed, adjusting the pitch up and down, you know, and then also keeping yourself in line left and right with the runway. But it's an IFR approach for a reason. It's an ILS approach for a reason. It's instruments. It's doing this for you so that you don't have to. So, you know, there's times like right now I'll disengage the autopilot and just fly it in by hand. But just because I'm trying to keep up with Nicholas in the chat over here, I want to make sure that I don't miss that. So I'm just going to let it bring us in a little bit further. And Nicholas said, tracks planes. Yeah, the Flight Radar 24 tracks planes. Okay. Can't wait for you to hit 1K. You're one of the fastest growing YouTubers. You deserve it. Well, thank you, man. Tracks, planes, Nicholas Chamberlain. Can't. Oh, looks like you copied and pasted there. Well, thank you, man. Well, I don't know about fastest growing, but I'm just trying to put some stuff out there that I hope people would enjoy that I enjoy myself. And so, okay, I'm going to go ahead and slow us down to 140 knots here and land this plane, and then we'll keep talking. Oh, gosh, I never started the flight recorder, so I missed this entire flight, but I just started it now, so we will be able to see the landing. Okay, got my feet on the rudder pedals. Auto throttle is disengaged. I now have control of the throttle. I am going to also go ahead and take the aircraft, so now I have control of the aircraft. A little bit below the glide slope, so I'm going to pitch it up just a touch. There we go. And we are coming in. I'm a little slow. I like to be about 140 over the numbers. We're at 130. Speed up and pitch up just a bit. Get us back over the center line a little bit. Use the rudder there. All right, let's bring it down. Down to idle throttle. Remind me to mention something else too after we land here, if this gets squirrely as we land. Reverse. Nose is down. Okay, we weren't squirrely. That's nice. We're about to run out of runway though. Wow. I'm going to go ahead and use some brakes. Reversers are off. Clear the runway and we're going to go park. 217, 6 Bravo Papa. All right. Miami Executive Ground, Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa, looking to taxi to GA parking.
Cessna November 316 Bravo Papa taxi to general aviation parking using taxiway Juliet.
Probably should have had this out, but let's do this right. Go to Miami. Let's bring up its charts. Taxi to GA parking using taxiway. What did he say? J. Yeah. What is J? Holy cow. J. What is J? Juliet? Joe. Oh, wow. Had a major malfunction in the brain there. Okay, we need to go to GA parking using taxiway J. Let's see if they actually gave us something that makes sense. Let's see if we can find GA parking first of all. Don't see it, so let's look for J. There it is there. Okay, so it looks like some hangars up here. So we're just going to go down. We'll just go ahead, get into the actual hangar ramp there, and then just taxi our way down there. It looks like it's probably going to be around the number 11 or 12 that you see circled there, kind of in the center. So that's where we will go. Nicholas, tell me what J is again in the pilot. What do they call that? Phonetical speech? Why am I having a brain fart on what J is? Slow, decrease speed. Was I coming in a little too fast? Juliet, thank you. The Rash, my man. Thank you very much. I think I may have said Juliet, but holy cow. Anyway, we'll forget that that happened. And yeah, I think we're just going to go, we're going to go down this ramp. And then actually what we'll do is we'll look for our tug. And that might be him standing out there. I always like to try and finish where it says you're supposed to. Nice landing, Butter. Thanks, Nicholas. It wasn't too bad. Yeah, we did get a little bit... Well, okay, you're saying I needed to decrease speed. I was actually felt like I was a little bit slow coming in. Yes, the Rash, man. I remember you from last night at the plane spotting. You also have a channel, I believe. I think you said you also stream, so need to go check you out. Do you do flight sim stuff or other things? Oh, yeah, I missed it there. There we go. There. Parking brake set. All right. Let's go ahead. I want to, first of all, okay, I'm going to stop the recorder because we're going to go back and replay this landing. I'm going to go in. I'm going to shut off crash settings because it always the replay function always seems to crash the plane. So I'm going to turn that off just so it doesn't make us go back to the main menu. I'm going to go ahead and shut down. I hardly ever do the shutdown on here, so I like to go to cold and dark sometimes. So at this point, so we are down. So let's go ahead and kill all of our lights. The emergency lights, I'm going to go ahead and turn them off. Panel lights, I'll go ahead and bring those back off. Down to this panel over here, the ELT switch, off. Pitot and ice are off. The flaps, I'm going to go ahead and put back up. I should have put those up before we started taxiing, forgot. Flight director can come off. Got a spoiler disarm warning. I'll go ahead and take care of that. And then we are going to come down here at this point now and go ahead and shut down the engines. Go ahead and close the fuel valve there. Come back up here. Now that the engines are off, the generators can come off. So I'm going to go ahead and turn those both to off. I'm going to close that bus tie. And at this point, we are ready to then shut down the battery that then just goes ahead and shuts down the rest of the aircraft. And there you go. All right. Now we are going to replay that landing. So let me get that queued up just 1 second here. Okay. Yeah, so Nicholas, going back to the landing. I like to try and keep it at about 140 knots right as I come in over the numbers. And then I usually just drop the throttle down to idle and it just coasts down. And we usually touch down at that point around 130 to 125 knots, which I think is about right for the longitude. But as I was coming in, I was about at 130 knots coming into the numbers. And so that's why I pitched the nose up just a tiny bit and gave it a little bit more speed to try and at least keep us there and not let us get any slower at that point. But thank you on the nice landing. It wasn't too bad. The Rash, lots of things, getting more into Flight Simulator. Okay, so you do a lot of different things. Yeah, I'll have to go check out your channel later tonight. I have the #1 search NASCAR Heat 5 custom setup website. #1 search NASCAR Heat 5 custom setup website. Okay, cool. That's neat. So you do some NASCAR, like gaming stuff, I'm guessing. That's kind of cool. Nicholas, see you. Beautiful plane. Hey, catch you later, man. If you're still on, let's do the landing replay right quick. Let me get to the drone cam. Let me go ahead and queue up the replay. Load it in. It's going to put us in the air. We are completely shut down, so it's going to take a second for everything to spool back up. Otherwise, it's just going to fall out of the sky. Hopefully the gear are going to come down here because I need that to happen. But right now the plane has no power because we've shut everything down, so it's trying to get all that back up. Well, we will see if it actually... let me pause it because sometimes that'll allow all the gear and stuff to come out like it's supposed to. Let me take it off follow mode, and we're going to do this plane spotting style. Nicholas knows what I'm talking about. Let's go get us a spot down here at the runway, and we're going to watch this bad boy come in. Nicholas says back cam. Okay, we will do that angle as well. Let's get it coming in here with the sun because it does not get any better than that. Holy cow. This one may have to go in the album. Okay, so we will zoom in on it there. Here it comes, and let's hope and pray that the gear come down and we get somewhat of a realistic landing here. All right, so it's playing. Come on, gear. I see the doors open. Come on, gear. It's not wanting to. It's kind of hard to see. Woo, he's going right through the sun. Well, when he touches down, they're going to come out, so it just kind of kills the realism a bit. That's okay. All right, so there we floated a tiny bit. I think that's where I was trying to slow it down just a smidge. Woo. Some horrible camera work. Yeah, we need the... Okay, well, the thrusters came up. We need the gear to come down, though. Let's try that again. All right, back it up a little bit more. See if that gave it time to come out. Nope, they still didn't come out. Well, there they're coming out a little bit further. Did it just need to go back one more time? Actually, maybe if I rewind it and then hold it. Ah, there I can see them coming out. See them right there? All right, that's the trick. I slide it on the timeline on the replay tool, and then I just hold it for a second. There we go. All right, now let's get it. Okay. Here we come. That's realistic. That was pretty darn smooth. I will take that every day of the week. There go the thrusters. Spoilers are engaged. And we just coasted right down to the very end of the runway. Okay, Nicholas, back cam. Let's do it. Let me change back to follow mode, reset the position on it. We're behind it at this point, and now let's rewind it. Do you want like directly behind it, Nicholas? Like this? Maybe add a little bit. Go. There we go. Right wheel touched just before. All right, that's fine. And we drifted across left of the center line. I was about to say that is one of the most center line landings I've had in a while. Normally I'm way off the center line, but there I try to fix it and get back. So, all right, cool. Yeah, that I'd say that qualifies as butter too, man. We'll take that every day of the week. Let's kind of go back and get it from all the way back to the beginning with it. So anyway, no, so what I was saying right when I was landing, I said, don't let me forget to talk about this. But the, yeah, Nicholas dropping in the butter, man. All right. I think it was a video today. I want to say it was by like EasyJet Sim Pilot, I think is who it was. But he did a video, and it had to do with, and I've mentioned this before, and after I said it in one of the streams or videos that I did, I thought, that's going to come off sounding like it's the plane or the simulator's fault and not the fact that I'm not a good pilot. But I mentioned a couple of times that, like, when you go to land, and I think I mentioned this with the new Citation Mustang that came out, but the way that it sometimes when you would land would get a little bit squirrely as soon as the nose wheel would touch, or even sometimes when the mains would touch. It just felt like as soon as you got down on the runway, it would get squirrely. And I remember seeing it online some places like with message boards and stuff where people would say, yeah, it's the simulator. It's like as soon as your nose wheel touches, everything just gets squirrely. And then some people would say, well, it's certain planes that do it. He did a really, really, really good video today. Again, I think it was EasyJet Sim Pilot. I'll try to, maybe I'll link it down in the description of this live stream when it finishes. But he talks about how, is it the simulator or is it, the pilot, essentially? And his findings will, kind of make you feel bad if you felt like it was the simulator, because essentially what he does, and he does a great job of showing it, is from your position in the cockpit. And maybe this kind of goes back to, who was that? Wheels Up, when he told me about the little dial inside the cockpit, the little gauge up there on the center line that basically tells you if you're sitting in the cockpit correctly. EasyJet Sim Pilot basically showed in this video that when you're coming down and you're looking out the front of the runway and you feel like you're lined up on the center line, he then went outside and used the drone camera and showed you different angles to show you that you're not. Like his jet, when he legit looked like he was lined up on the center line from the cockpit, he went outside and it was skewed about 5 degrees off. And basically that means as soon as you touch down, your mains are going to touch. They don't turn. They're on a path of whatever they are when you touch. And when you're 5 degrees left of the center line, as soon as you touch, you're going to want to go 5 degrees left of the center line. And then when your nose wheel touches, that's when things start to get squirrely, because you get hard on the rudder pedals thinking you're not online or you are, and you don't react with them fast enough, and then things start wobbling back and forth. And it's really, really hard to think that, it's you causing that. You're thinking it's the plane, it's the simulator, it's something doing that. When in essence, this video really does prove that 99% of the time, it's just you feel like you're on the center line, but you're not. And so he had a couple of gauges. He was flying, I think, one like the A320 or something. But I need to pay attention in this jet and see if it has it as well. But some of the gauges and indicators, he shows where you can use those to make sure that, keep an eye on those and not only looking out your window to think if you're lined up on the center line. Use the gauges and stuff to make sure that what you feel like is on the right heading actually really is based on your instruments, because that's what they're there for, to verify that stuff. And so I thought that was really cool that he did a video about that. And so it just happened to come out within the last few days. So I'll try and link it down in the description of this video if you want to check it out. But I was curious to see when this one landed. I was going to say, okay, if we get really squirrely and, the nose, we start going off the center line, I want to look in the replay if we were off a lot. But we weren't. We were lined up on the center line. And as Nicholas has said about 50 times in the chat right there, yes, sir, butter center line. So, all right, guys, we're coming up. We're over 3 hours now. So this was a fun flight, though. Philadelphia to Miami Executive, nice and long, and it was a blast to fly. We basically went over the entire cockpit here. We essentially, looked this plane up and down like we haven't so far in any videos I've done on this stream. So felt like this was a really good stream, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thank you, everybody, for stopping in and chatting. And Nicholas, let me see this. You line up an orange and white dot in your right design seating position. Yes, that's exactly what he said. That is exactly what Wheels Up told us that that little indicator is for. So yes, sir, you are exactly right. The back white and the forward orange dot line up if you're sitting correctly. Yes, sir, that is exactly what he said. So there we go. It's confirmed now in 2 different places. So that is crazy, though, that's that's what that was for. So, all right, guys, I think I'm going to end it here. Thank you again for tuning in. You know what? Let's get just one more. Now that it's basically dark, we'll end the stream with One more shot of the butter, as Nicholas likes to say. There we go. Nice little view right here with the horizon in the background. All right, guys, thanks for stopping in. We will talk to you later. And yeah, going to put a placeholder. Oh, God, I forgot to hit play. We're going down. There we go. I forgot. I'm going to put a placeholder in for Friday. I think Friday night. If you want to tune back in, we will be doing a live stream Friday night, and I'm going to make it my first flight on the VATSIM network. So that will be the plan as of now. So keep an eye out for that. Probably we'll be back tomorrow night with another plane spotting live stream. So I think that's it. Thanks again, everybody. Nicholas, the Rash, we're going to go check out your channel, man. Wheels Up, thank you for stopping by. I think Pilot Aileron, I remember seeing you in there as well. Thank you, everybody, and thanks for the continued support, and thanks for the heads up, Nicholas, that we've crossed 300 subscribers. That is awesome. So, all right, we will talk to you guys.